I'll call to order the King George County Board of Supervisors budget work session. Do we have any changes to the agenda?
No, ma'am.
All right. Do we have any public comment? Please limit it to 3 minutes and, would you like to go up there so we can all see you
I
better?
would love to. Do I need to go to the podium? I've never been to this location before.
This right here is good.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Good evening. Madam Chair, members of the board, my name is Gilbert James. I'm the owner of Fairview Beach Marine and Power Sports. And I'm here to talk to you about a budget proposal I'd like to see about removing boats from personal property taxes. What I have here is I have a copy of the documents that I have signed by Charlie Beckham, owner of Wall Point Marina, Fairview Beach Yacht Club, and Fairview Beach Marina Power Sports. I'd like to hand them to the members of the board if that's okay with you.
Thank you.
I have one more. If there's anybody else. I have more copies by email if you like. I can just shoot you another email. All right. Well, anyway, get back to business. I'm here to seek your assistance in requesting that take necessary action to stop imposing personal property tax on boats and other watercraft in King George County. I ask this assistance because King George County marinas and boat repair businesses are at a disadvantage with similar businesses as in Stafford County. Stafford County does not impose personal property taxes on boats or other watercraft. As a result, King George residents are taking their boats out of the county and storing them in Stafford to avoid paying personal property taxes. I'm not asking for handouts or any other special benefits. All I'm asking is that just a level playing field. I want my business to be treated fairly and not be put at an unfair disadvantage. My business, my wife Crystal and I, she's in the back, are owners of the small business here in King George, as I said, Fairview Beach Marine and Power Sports. We opened in April of 2019. We employ 3 full-time employees, one of which is behind y'all, and I plan to add more in the spring. Our workload is increasing. All of our employees live here in King George, and I've lived here in King George for 22 years full-time in Fairview Beach. I've lived, as a summer resident all my whole life because my family has owned the property that I live on since the 40s. We're a full-time marine service and repair shop. In addition to repairing boats and other watercraft, we provide services to winterize, store, and shrink wrap boats to protect them over the winter. Not all boats or personal watercraft require repairs, but they all require winterization to prepare for winter storage. This is a major part of our business. This floats us through the winter. The problem is the marinas in Stafford County are advertising to King George residents that they should bring their boats to Stafford County for winterizing and winter storage. On your papers, you have a copy of that advertisement. So, they're like I said, they're specifically telling people as they should do this to avoid paying personal property taxes in King George County. As a result, some of the people are taking the boats out of Stafford County for the winter. Some of my slip holders choose to forfeit their winter storage that comes with their slip fees in order to take advantage of the tax break that Stafford County offers. This definitely causes a loss of $1,000 of revenue per boat. Some of these boats take several $1,000s to winterize, shrink wrap, and get ready for the winter. One of my customers pays $900 for their boat every 6 months. Another one has another boat that's 20+ years old, and they said they pay more personal property taxes on their boat than they do rental property. So it kind of give you a magnitude of what we're looking at here. I think this is a lose-lose situation for King George, because you're losing the personal property taxes because the boats are going away to Stafford, and you're losing the income from the winterization, as in tax revenue. Business like mine lose money when there's less boats to winterize and store. They're leaving the county. King George County loses sales tax on the business that is lost and loses personal property tax on those boats moved to Stafford County. I don't know how many boats there have been taken out of King George. Excuse me, my hands are not working tonight. But I personally know of some. I just mentioned one of them. I think it's likely that as time goes on, more and more boats will leave King George for the winter, causing more and more loss of personal property tax revenue, as well as loss of business with companies like mine. Just a little bit about the financial details, I guess. Is I understand that doing what I ask results in less money for King George, but if you do nothing, more and more boats are going to leave the county, and will also result in less money for the county. Obviously, when Stafford County took this step, they knew they were going to lose money. Apparently, they thought it was worth it to provide assistance to their marine businesses. I know this going to have some studied and analyzed. You're going to have to know how much money you're going to lose. I get it. I'm willing to help any way I can. Since this is my first year in business, I can try to provide you with the information on numbers of slip holders that were winterized here at the Fairview Beach Yacht Club, as well as compared to years past. I can also try to find out how many boats were winterized, this year compared to last few years, so we can see if there's a trending decline. And I know for a fact there is. County tax officials can provide information on the amount of personal property taxes paid this year compared to prior years. I will try to get my fellow business owners in the county to come up with much information that you require as possible. We can try to calculate lost businesses and lost sales, tax revenue, whatever we can do to help. We're willing to do whatever it takes. As I said before, I don't run a handout. I'm not willing to compete against any other marine repair businesses. But if my prices are too high or my quality of work's too low, I can lose business. That's on me. But I can't compete against marine repair shops in Stafford County. They can charge more for the same services I provide, but they still get my customers' business because they're taking advantage of the tax break. So they're still saving money. This unfair tax situation is messing up the free market here, competition here in King George. If King George wants a small business to come to the county and stay in the county, here's a chance to make that happen, take an action to provide a level playing field. Please consider taking this action. I've requested to help King George businesses with a fair chance to succeed. I appreciate it. And if you find yourself on the water in the draft handful of Potomac, wear your life jacket, just may save your life. And a bit about us is we're also a free life jacket loaner program for the Boat US Foundation. So if you need life jackets, we provide them to you for free. So just make sure all of our customers and patrons that are on the water are safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else on one? All right, thank you. Any discussion on that?
Madam Chair, if I may. Mr. James is a resident of Fairview Beach, which is in my district, and I took the opportunity to tour his business. I'm highly impressed, especially with the discussions of potential expansion out there. Previously, our last board had many discussions about small business incentives. What can we do to enhance business opportunities here in the county? I believe this is something that fits that line of discussion. As of right now, I don't believe the board is in a position where we can enact something that affects our budget for this budget year. I believe the last numbers we got was boat tax brought in roughly $300,000, maybe a little more. However, what we're not realizing is the taxes that these businesses can bring if they get to retain those boats in the county. Then they're doing the winterization, the shrink wrap, the maintenance, maybe selling new boats, things of that nature, and then being able to expand their business and employ more citizens. I would like to see, you know, if we were to alleviate or remove that boat tax, would the benefit bring in more dollars to the county? Would Stafford County is in the same situation. They're always looking for money. If they eliminated the boat tax, I'm sure they did some homework on it and they found that it would actually enhance their businesses, thus bringing in more revenues to the county ultimately. I would definitely like to look at this again, not for this budget cycle, because I know those monies that we have set are already allocated and balanced into things. But I believe we really need to take a hard look, maybe something that we could kick down to the EDA to do a study on and bring to a real discussion for our next budget cycle in eliminating this tax. But I think there's a lot of potential that works for allowing these businesses to be successful in the county. Thank you.
I've got enough to add at the time. Appreciate the comments, so good looking.
You have your feelings on it.
May I?
Yep.
Thank you very much for coming out and speaking. So I did ask Dr. Young to research with the Commissioner of Revenue, and it is around $300,000 a year for the last 2 years, which is what, $0.0125 or so that we'd be, yeah. So again, it's not gonna be realistic for this current budget cycle. I would consider it, and I would like to have the Economic Development Authority, I'd like to task them if we can with collecting some data. So if we do that, they may be reaching back to you and other boat marina type business owners to collect some data. I would be interested in it if we could determine that the amount of revenue we'd be losing would be recouped in some other fashion, because I cannot pass on $0.0125 to all of my taxpayers, have them absorb that when they don't own boats. You get where I'm coming from? I represent everybody, and then I'm gonna have people saying, well, I have a mobile home, or I have a camper, an RV, a recreational vehicle. Well, why do I have to pay personal property tax on that? And, you know what I mean? So if we can look at the data and come up with a happy medium where we can illustrate a benefit to the business community, then I would be happy to consider it next budget cycle. Thank you again, Bill, for taking the time out.
I do want to introduce Charlie Beckham, the owner of Wall Point Marina. The owners of Fairview Yacht Club couldn't make it tonight. I just wanted to recognize him. I apologize.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
And maybe Dr. Young, can we task the EDA with that? And then
We can ask them, they're an authority though, we don't
That
really
is
ask
true.
them, it's like the service authority, we don't tell the service authority what to do.
True. Confirm suggestion.
Ask if they were.
Yes,
Yeah, we
we
can
could
ask.
ask.
Yes.
Yeah, if it's something they would consider looking at.
Yes.
But one thing I would like to add to it is some data on why the other localities eliminated the tax and what their data was before they eliminated it and then after they eliminated it. And how long have they eliminated it and did they recoup their losses?
Well, I could tell you as a one-time boat owner, my wife made me sell it so she can get 2 new horses. But I had a Monterey 282 cruiser. I loved that boat. I lived in King George. At the time I lived in Oakland Park, Mr. Granger's district at that time. My boat was kept at Aquia Harbor in Stafford County. I didn't have to pay taxes on it. That's why I kept it there. It was convenient. I winterized my boat there. I stored my boat there. Every time they took it out in the water, $500. Every time they put it in the water, $500. I bought my fuel there. We bought our snacks and our food there. All that revenue went to Stafford County. And that was just a personal thing that I did. So you know it's happening.
Yeah, I would just like to see that because I'm concerned about people on campers and motorcycles and say, why aren't you alleviating us too? So, but thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
On motorcycles and campers and trailers?
Oh, I don't know, I just use.
I'm saying, I think that's the difference here, is
Yeah.
that they're not charging tax, so it's a competitive issue. It's not so much the other people jump on the bandwagon. If they jump on the bandwagon because they're not charging tax, that's another competitive issue. But I think that's a bit of your way through it.
Yeah, I think the difference is this would be a small business incentives or fair competition type proposal, whereas it's not simply we're selecting what taxes we're going to alleviate to serve one group or another. This is simply in the whole premise of supporting the small business community, which I believe would be that difference.
Anybody else have? All right, thank you again.
Thank you.
Dr. Young, outside agencies.
All right. Good evening. This is our agenda. So tonight, our first discussion will revolve around outside agencies. To ensure that we're all on the same page, let me give you all a brief summary over the topic. The portion of the budget revolves around the county's support for outside agencies, not charities. I make this point because everyone needs to understand that the majority of the organization that the county does support does not actually have a charitable mission. In addition, the King George County funds the vast majority of these organizations in order to remain in compliance with state code or regional agreements. In fiscal year 1920, the county provided $296,111 of funding to the 11 agencies that we are mandated to support. The list of agencies follows on the next slide. In addition to mandated agencies, King George County funded 2 charitable organizations, the Disability Resource Center and the Thurman Brisbane Homeless Shelter. The funding for these agencies totaled $18,300, or 6.1% of our outside agency budget. For this budget cycle, I will ask that you please refer to the spreadsheet before you. This one. As you'll see, for fiscal year 2021, we have received a request for $417,487 from a total of 27 different agencies. With that being said, I will again, of course, ask the board to advise me to maintain our current policy of limiting funding to non-mandated agencies, or do you wish to host a discussion regarding any additional agencies that were not funded in fiscal year 1920?
Board, how do you feel about that? Is it course?
I'm good with that.
But in all fairness, before we do have that discussion, I think that it would be fair for us to, we do have 2 visitors.
Oh, that's true.
One of them being a non-mandated agency, legal aid. So I think that we probably want to take a pause, give legal aid and RCC an opportunity to come up and speak about the organization. So we'll have legal aid come up.
Last year, there was an increase from the state. So the state's mandating we have to put in
Mr. Bush, just bring for a presentation. Go ahead.
So my name is Ann Klockner, I'm the Executive Director at Legal Aid Works. The County of King George has been served by our organization. Your constituents have been served by our organization since 1973. And a few years back, you made the choice to not fund us. I am going to continue to haunt your meetings until you change your minds on that, because I really do feel strongly that you can make a good case about the importance, not just to your constituents, which is important, but the service and the value-added work that we do that enhances the county's mission. And I'll give you several examples of that. It's always a hard position to be in when you're labeled outside. Where would you cut? If you had to cut things on the budget, probably something that started with the word outside, so we're already kind of in the hole on that because of the sense that you consider us to be outside. It's also alarming that on this spreadsheet, our name doesn't even exist, even though we've applied and we've been a part of the application process for the last several years. We've put in our application through the consortium of counties that have participated in the group application. So I just want to briefly talk to you about the way in which we serve both the constituents in this county and also your work as a county. We cover 15 county courts in these 5 counties through our Fredericksburg office, including the 3 county courts here in King George, Circuit Court, General District Court, and Juvenile and Domestic Relations. We represent people in civil legal cases. There's absolutely no right to a free lawyer when you're poor and you have a civil legal problem. That right to a free lawyer, when you can't afford one, is only when you've been charged with a crime. That's when there's a public defender or an appointed private attorney to help with somebody who's been accused of a crime. But when you walk into court as a civil litigant and you can't afford a lawyer, tough luck. That's our system. That's what we've got. So we are a nonprofit that, yes, is not mandated. There's absolutely no mandate to our services. But it does provide an essential service. Battered spouses are always told, why don't you just leave? The first thing that they're going to need when they leave is a civil protective order, a stay-away order. That only can be gotten out of the Juvenile and Domestic Relations Court or the General District Court. When the abuser shows up, if the abuser shows up with an attorney, will the judge appoint an attorney for the battered spouse? Never. That's our system. And we don't think that's fair, so we go in to level the playing field to make sure that domestic violence victims are represented in civil protective orders, custody, support, things like that. We represent people when their landlords are illegally evicting them or their mortgage company is illegally foreclosing on their homes. We represent people who are illegally denied their unemployment benefits. We also see that Thurman Brisbane and Disability Resource Center were funded this past year, and we provide essential services to both those organizations. I go to them regularly to do Know Your Rights trainings. We train their staff. We train the people that are served by their offices and their missions. So we enhance the work of those 2 organizations by making sure that anyone who's at the homeless shelter, we go in there every month and do a training on your rights as a tenant so that they are more armed for the next relationship they have with the landlord when they get out of the homeless shelter. The Disability Resource Center, we have spoken extensively to their support groups, their hearing impaired groups just recently. So we're very much knit into the fabric of those organizations. In fact, I counted, there's 13 organizations on this list here that we reach out to and do Know Your Rights presentations for them. Now let's talk a little bit about the specific things that we do for you as a county. If any of you have sat for more than 10 minutes in any courtroom here in this county, you will realize that people who are unrepresented gum up the works. It takes much longer when a case is involving an unrepresented litigant. And so when we represent somebody and we come into court with them, it is making that a much more efficient county court system. We also take the strain off your social services safety net. We have offered, and we're just in the midst of coming up with a date for the DSS office to go in and train their staff on how our office works and various Know Your Rights presentations that are available. So when clients are lifted out of poverty with enforceable court orders of child or spousal support, as well as unemployment benefits they wouldn't have otherwise won without our legal intervention, that's reducing the number of people who have to use the DSS office and their TANF and SNAP and other benefits. Finally, we represent a lot of domestic violence victims, and when they have a civil protective order in place through our representation, they're able to keep safe, and the law enforcement agencies in this county get the assistance that they need, the backup of making sure that there's an enforceable court order. We have been doing this work, as I said, since 1973. We have, in the last fiscal year, through our 3 offices covering 17 counties, obtained over $539,000 for our clients through all those counties that we serve in terms of support orders, unemployment benefits, things like that. So there's some real benefits associated with that. You'll get our services for free. What a deal. But it's not right, and I think that, like other counties around here, King George is benefiting from our services to your constituents. You get to use our office as a referral source for your constituents, and we would love for you to support it as you have in the past. I really appreciate the opportunity to come here tonight and talk to you about it. Thank you.
Here's a quick question for you. How much did we support in the past?
$4,403.
Okay.
Is that the request again?
Is it-
Is that the correct request?
Yes, yes, sir.
Next, we have Dr. Kennedy for the Rappahannock Community College.
You don't mind if I sit?
Go ahead.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me. I'm pleased to have been with RCC since July, and I'm happy to be here tonight. So I want to thank you for your continued support of the college. We appreciate Joseph McGettigan, who is your appointee to the RCC board, and he chairs our curriculum and programs committee. Our funding request is for $5,889, which is a 2% increase over last year. Wanted to highlight a few things that have happened in the past year and some things that we're working on. This year is our 50th anniversary. January 9th, we celebrated the 50th anniversary of our first local board meeting, which happened in Urbana. And RCC is not quite the same as it was 50 years ago. Back then, the criteria to establish a college was a population of at least 100,000. And to do that, that took 13 counties, including Caroline County. Caroline is no longer part of our service area, but the other 12 counties still are. We've celebrated at our Glens campus with an open house in January. We will celebrate at the Warsaw campus. We are very pleased that we have 5 locations, with one of them being here in King George. And I will end with a little bit about some future plans for King George. Highlights from last year. Our faculty and staff participate in a program called Great College to Work For, where they complete surveys. Most of our the BCCS colleges participate. And for the 5th straight year, we were named a Great College to Work For. We served 501 students from King George County. That's the total of our college credit courses, dual enrollment students, and students in our short-term workforce programs. King George students received financial aid totaling more than $239,000. This year, 10 King George students received 17 different scholarships from the RCC Foundation, totaling almost $33,000. So you have what were 3 different items just for you to take and look at your leisure. The smaller one is sort of as a view book that we give to students. Then you have our spring course schedule that doesn't have all of our courses but gives a listing of courses. And then you have this, it's called Transforming Lives, Inspiring Excellence, Strengthening Our Community and Transforming Lives. As part of our 50th anniversary celebration, we are conducting a campaign. It's not a capital campaign, so it's a little different. What we're doing is trying to provide for the needs, the entire needs of the whole student. Scholarships being one piece. We're using unrestricted funds to support food pantries. We have food pantries at all of our locations, including King George. We don't ask for proof of anything. We just serve those students. And we're looking at providing funding so we can have more advisors, because we found we have so many first-generation students that don't know how to navigate a complicated college process, that we want those students to have that hand-holding. So we can, I say, we can't expect them to be prepared when they come, but when they leave us, we want them to be prepared to be at the university, be prepared for work. So that's one of the things we're doing. And we're also looking to expand our nursing program. We have high demand there, a very successful nursing program. I would call that our flagship program. We did expand it this past year, and we still had 50 students we had to turn away. And that's because we need full-time faculty. And nursing is an expensive program to run, but we have great facilities and great partnerships, and those are folks that can get a job in our region. And we are trying to make sure we can get folks, you all know I have the same thing, with so many out commuters, and what can we do to be able to prepare students for jobs in our region. So please take a look at that, because it does talk a lot about the types of students we're seeing and some of the needs there. The other thing for King George here, so we are looking at expanding our offerings. We are working with King George High School. As you know, we use them at night for transfer courses. But we just, last night, so really hot off the press, we're not sure exactly what we're going to do, but we're going to expand that with just a minor addendum to our MOU to offer CTE programming. So potentially carpentry, welding, workforce training, short-term training credential programs. At the college, we're trying to look at the college as one college and not the typical, there's a workforce side and a college credit side, because students come to RCC to take classes. They don't know the difference. And so we have changed that. We've reorganized just recently and are looking at helping a student no matter how they come to us. But by creating things like credit by credentials. So if they did start something short-term and they want to continue, they get credit for that prior learning. So a big philosophy shift at RCC. We're working with Mick to try to determine needs. We're trying to get CDL if we can find a place to do the training. That's a difficult thing because you need a lot of asphalt. But I think that we're committed. We're working on our strategic plan, and expanding in King George is a high priority for us. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Industrial park.
Say it again?
Industrial park.
Nah, but
It's complicated.
it is complicated. You gotta have we won't believe like have the classroom on spot. So we probably have to work out something with somebody there where they can teach the class, step out, get the real world experience, and then go back to the class. So that's the difficult part of it.
Anybody else want to put in?
You actually answered one of my questions, and actually I was going to tell you it was a concern of mine,
Okay.
because I just looked through your workforce development book, and I see all your other campuses mentioned, and I don't see King George. But you answered it, so thank you for doing that.
Yes, well, one of the things, as I said, a major philosophy shift is trying to figure out how we can deliver instruction. It's just the mindset in higher ed that we have to have a permanent location and it has to be fixed, but we're trying to be a little more flexible. Flexibility is one of our new buzzwords.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time. And please let me know if you have any questions as you look.
Thank you.
We're getting back to the discussion. I'm sorry that was a little disruptive, but
No, that's
I
right.
can't think of a more just seamless way to invite our guests to come speak. So, returning to the question of if the board would like to maintain its policy of limiting funding to non-mandated agencies, or do you wish to host a discussion regarding additional agencies that were not funded in 1920?
I like to hold to the previous policy, that's fine.
Do you want to remove the existing outside agencies that are not mandated?
I believe there's only one that we, or two that we funded.
Disability Resource Center,
They're members of the shelter.
Veterans Shelter.
And we had that discussion, if you recall, too. We had a discussion last year in the.
So, I'm sorry, maybe I misspoke. So, our previous policy, I'll change that up to previous year, last year. I would like to keep it to what we had come to last year, because I believe just enough justification and debate was had over last year for the inclusion of those two additionals. So, I'm fine with that.
I have a question though, on legally, why was it removed? It was before our time, wasn't it?
What was what? I don't know.
Legal aid, the presentation that we just had.
Oh, originally? So that would have been 4 years ago then. We cut most everything. I believe Thurman Brisbane was also cut, and then we re-added it last year. but we were just looking to try to cut back on all outside agencies that were not mandated.
So
Just play devil's advocate, because, I heard the words, or the point made that, legal aid works with Thurman Brisbane, as well. And so, I'm not saying necessarily we should move forward with funding, but just bring that up.
So a lot of references were made to social services. I serve on that board of directors. I literally just left that meeting, which we had at 5 o'clock today. I've had previous discussions with the director there, Mr. Coleman, about this organization. Not a knock against the organization, but they really would prove no additional benefit to King George. People utilize them, but mostly it is civil that they get engaged in, and it's not all cases. Social Services does a great job of advocating for a lot of things that she discussed, which we pay for. We get a lot of that reimbursed through state and federal government. However, a lot of attention goes to our social services as well, in negating a lot of things that she brought up. I can't have to I can't support justified funding that organization.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
So, Thurman Brisbane Homeless Shelter. Last year was 9,500, this year they're asking for 15,000. Is that based on the fact that they're actually serving more of our citizens, or where did that,
I'm glad you brought that up.
increase come from? Because that's a big jump.
Well, that's what they're asking.
After we had our discussion regarding non-mandated agencies, I was gonna provide you all my thoughts on the mandated agencies are the ones that we currently fund. And I think a 58% increase in funding is, a little out there, especially when you see that all the other agencies except for the GWRC are more aligned with 2%, 3%, inflation. I would highly advise the board that we could support 57.8%.
And you're talking about Thurman Brisbane?
Yeah.
Well, didn't they ask for more last year? And
Yeah, they did.
we're the ones that determined that number. That's not what they requested. So, did they request 15,000 previous years too, or more? Because I believe what they requested, we were like, no, maybe we can fund half after the discussions, because they do provide critical services and they do support our social services that we would have to pay for on the outside.
Yes, sir, but as a reminder, when they did take that request, you all tasked me with talking with Mr. Coleman. I told him about the budget increase.
Yes, sir.
And asked him what his thoughts were on, and he said that he could justify that increase that they had. And that's when I brought it back to the board, said, hey, I had a direct conversation with Mr. Coleman, and that's how you all came to the conclusion, okay, we're gonna fund it.
We funded them a much lower number than what they requested, is what I'm saying.
Last
So
year-
I'm not saying we would fund them at their request this year. I wouldn't do that. I'm saying, let's keep what we gave them last year, the same as this year.
Wait. 1920, they requested 9,500. They requested 9,500. They had 5,000 in 1819. They requested 9,500 in 1920. That was approved.
And
They got what they requested.
They got it.
Yes. And now they're asking for 15.
No, I would keep it to last year's.
58% more increase.
Because I can tell you right now, some numbers that came out today, the economy's actually thriving. We're seeing numbers go down, actually, in some food pantries. They're not being hit as hard as they were. We're in a thriving economy right now. So with everything we've got in the mix, I can still justify last year's funding level. There's no way I personally can justify an increase right now.
Yeah, I mean, I've been there and it does provide vital service.
It does.
And they do a good job and they do service quite a few King George residents. Because I don't have the numbers right with me, but they had given me numbers that they do. Ms. Cuthbert?
Let me ask another question. Moss Free Clinic, obviously they're not here for a presentation this evening, but do we have any data regarding, before making a decision about that, I would like to see some data regarding how many of our citizens they serve?
You do have a lot of things.
That's what I'm thinking, but I don't,
I don't have the book with me because that's one of the ones we asked, but we have not funded them. That, the only two that, if you look at this paper, anything that's bold are mandated, and the only two we fund that are not mandated
are the homeless shelter and
But I
disability
can certainly
resource
bring
center.
you the video.
That's correct.
I personally would like to see some data from them, even if they can't make an appearance in person. I am curious about that one too.
How much are they
I can
requesting, Ms.
email
Coco?
that to you.
It says 4,850. And I'm not saying that would be a blanket and I would do it, I'm just curious.
I can email it to you or say.
So- Am I reading this correctly? Last year, for outside agencies, we funded $296,111. If we fund and fund at the levels or from last year with those outside agencies, everything that's in that far right ledger, we're actually coming in about 6,000, 7,000 less. So to settle the outside, no?
No. If we funded every request from the agencies that we did fund last year, we'd end up with an additional $10,679.
He hasn't got to that side.
No, that's, no.
Am I on a different slide?
You're on a different slide. We're getting ahead.
I'm
but
sorry.
That's the slide, right here, this number right here.
So-
10,000.
I know, we don't have those on our sheet.
Yeah, I'm looking
That
at,
would be helpful.
here's what I'm looking at. Fiscal year 20 versus fiscal
No.
year 20.
That sheet right there is just to show you all the requests that we have. The sheet that actually totals what we funded in 1920 versus 2021 is right here captured on the screen.
But we should have been provided that, that would have been helpful, because
But
when we
this-
look at this.
We wanted you to see the list of everyone who's made requests.
Oh, I know,
What
but
you've
this-
not seen happen here is, if you look at the two blank columns, as we fill in either your board adjustments and or what you approve, then it affects the number in the far right column. These are the agencies that are mandated and or, and there's your difference. This was just so that you saw all the agency requests, and maybe we should have just blocked off.
Yeah, I'm a very visual person, so
Yeah,
I
me
like
too.
visual.
That's, we presented it to you now, man. That's
Oh,
all.
I know, but we don't have a copy of it, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
So providing copies.
So we could kick another 5,500 off if we fund Thurman Brisbane at 9,500 versus their requested 15,000. So that difference would be 5,000 something, not 10,000 something. With that said, both Ms. Kupka and Mr. Stonehill said that they're familiar with a lot of people using the Moss Clinic. If, I say rather than funding none at all, if we funded half of that, we'd still be within that window. We'd still be coming in less than what's actually projected. And then, in my view, we could move on from outside agencies.
But here's the thing, is to be fair, then we should give more some money to legal aid, because they've come and given a presentation every year. If we're gonna pick somebody randomly off of who we don't have,
I'm saying that, in my opinion, I think medical service, and I think we've all believed this, medical is crucial to health, safety, and quality of life, which is our responsibility. So that is one thing. A civil lawsuit having representation in a civil lawsuit, I believe is another matter altogether outside of our realm. Especially if some of the things that were articulated this evening are handled by social services, which we already fund.
but
So,
do they get funding from all the other counties except for us? That's one question I would like to know.
Those who may-
Legal aid.
Well, then that's a question for her.
To answer that, I can also answer you that there are absolutely no lawyers employed by the DSS to go in and save somebody from homelessness or from a domestic violence situation. So equating our services with DSS is probably not gonna hold up under scrutiny. I understand your point that they work with the same clientele, absolutely, no question. But these are not, discretionary lawsuits. This is, I'm about to be homeless because my landlord is illegally evicting me. That's the kind of lawsuits, civil lawsuits that we involve ourselves with. That somebody is being battered and needs to file a civil protective order. So this isn't, oh, my neighbor's property rights are infringing on my property rights. That's not what we're doing. In terms of other counties, every single other county in this planning district contributes to our organization.
As well as to these other organizations in different amounts. They don't request the same amounts from each county,
Right.
just so you're aware.
There's a lot of disparity on formulas. There's no formula. There's no per capita formula.
The board, if I may, so basically, every funding request on this list is contribute to King George County citizens in some form or fashion.
Everything can
And
be
that's-
justified.
And that's what happened, that's why the board, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Ranger, but that's why the board decided, hey, we're going down this rabbit hole, because every organization services King George County, so, you know, it's kind of hard to justify funding one versus the other, basically picking winners and losers in the nonprofit sector. Not to mention that then, okay, this is the list of requests from outside agencies, we haven't even captured a list of organizations, nonprofits that are within our county that service our county exclusively.
I understand. I'm just
So,
throwing another one in.
yeah, so I mean, that, and so what the board had decided was, hey, instead of picking winners and losers, we're not going to fund charitable organizations. And they took that stance, say, when Mr. Coleman comes and say, hey, I need Thurman Brisbane and I need the Disability Center. And he lobbied the board to at least fund those organizations.
Yes.
And we literally said, okay, out of this list, Mr. Coleman, pick the ones that really service you. Those were the two that he said that he needed to continue to sustain
Justified,
services.
because he said it saved him money in the long run.
It does.
And so,
If you participate in that organization, then when you bring people there, you're not charged on a case-by-case basis, which if we didn't participate, we, VSS, still would have to provide those services under the law, and we would have to pay much, much higher. So it's really a return investment. And you just triggered, I do remember that conversation, and when you said winners and losers, the posture was, we don't pick the winners and losers with other people's tax money. And if people want to donate their own, they're out of their own, they could pick and choose whatever nonprofit organization that they wanted to. So, yeah, you just triggered that in my mind. So thank you for bringing that up.
just as a question for what's up there now, on our sheet here, I see Safe Harbor, there was nothing adopted for fiscal year 18-19 or 19-20, but there is a request for 3,200 and it's bolded, showing that it is.
That's typically funded by the sheriff. If you look all the way to the right in FY 20 was funded by the sheriff, and that's not on that slide. And he has.
So is that would that be the case again this year, so it would not come out of it?
It actually be funded.
It would be funded again by the sheriff.
Understood, okay, thank you.
Can I get 2 cents from the public?
Oh, hold on, let me.
I apologize, if I'm not supposed to click on it.
No, you
Go
can,
on.
I'm just thinking,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Go right in.
Go ahead, you go.
All I asked was that we could get some data brought back to us so that we can make a more informed decision about Moss Free Clinic. Otherwise, I don't need to really rehash everything about outside agencies, but I do want to look at that a little bit closer. So that's where I'm coming from.
How would you like
I'm
it?
not
Email or-
trying to complicate the process by any means.
Oh, no.
I just, and it might be that, yeah, that sounds like 4850 is a reasonable request from them, or it might be that, no, maybe we come in around 2500, or maybe we don't at all, I don't know, but, so I don't wanna commit and let's, swap and work out deals with whatever and make someone think that maybe, I just wanna see some more information
Could
about
you
it.
send the funding application requests from them? Because I know in previous years they've sent those and had some statistics in there about the percentage of county residents that are serving. You might want more information, not saying that would be enough, but they might help you to start.
I think that would be good.
I'm available.
I'll get you.
Mr. Donna?
Just,
What is the Disability Resource Center? I don't remember that from last year.
Loss.
that, you know.
Disability Resource Center, which one?
That,
The disability resource.
it's in, we'll get that as well. It's in the books that we, on the print.
I have that one with me,
Okay.
because those are, that's funding. Are you asking where it's at?
What they,
What is it, what do they do?
to assist people with disabilities to achieve the highest potential and benefit of independent living, and providing them those who support them in the community with information, education, and resources.
That's its own separate agency?
Disability Resource Center and the services that we offer are unique. Our staff, the majority of whom are living with a disability or have a family member with a disability, provide peer mentoring services and practical life experience advice to our consumers. Skills training, peer mentoring, advocacy, facility transition from institutional care to the community, and from school to adult life, providing information to individuals, their families, and the community on different services and support. So,
It links up with the homeless shelter because they do the same thing as they
So what-
try to bring people back in the community
Mhm.
instead of being homeless.
so I'm seeing it as a halfway house for
Disabled.
the disabled, where they help them to,
So they're a totally owned entity, they don't work for under RASCAB or anything?
no, sir. No, sir, my understanding that they're, independent agency. They're incorporated, so they're obviously private and they provide, private but nonprofit, they provide the support to the
Resource
social
Center of the
services.
Rappahannock area.
Social services, but it's private, it's not a state entity, it's not a, mandate that we support them.
They work with the schools as well, special education stuff.
Just listening to the conversation, you have two categories of people that you fund. The mandated ones, no question what you gotta do, the non-mandated ones. And just hearing the thing, almost sounds like you should have a pool of money for the non-mandated ones and some objective criteria determining how they benefit the county and the mission. And regardless of what they want, give them what we have out of that pool to the degree that they benefit us more than others. Because it just sounds like it's hearsay, what this one does, what that one does, and that would be a more criteria measure. That was all.
Thank you.
I have to run for a little bit, I'll be back. I apologize.
Just a couple other comments. One, I sit on two nonprofit boards, and one of the things that is looming is some of the impacts of the latest tax reform act, where deductibility of charitable contributions is actually been minimized because the standard deduction has been raised. And so a lot of nonprofit charitable organizations are starting to feel that decrease in independent fundraising. The other one, though, is getting knowledge of what other kind of fundraising activities do the agencies have. Are they solely relying on government contributions, or are they qualified under United Way, whether by federal campaign or United Way charity or organization, or the information of what other fundraising activities are. And sometimes with those applications too, some of the concern is how much of your revenue is going towards fundraising activities or your ratio. You have a high fundraising cost. Therefore, is the contribution actually going to the need, or is it really just offsetting the fundraising activities? So those are just some considerations related to it. I understand that it's hard to identify all these well-meaning organizations out there. And it would be helpful though, just to understand for the public, how are the other ways that these are going to those organizations other than just using the tax dollars?
Yeah, and I know there are pie charts out there that show you how much of a nonprofit it goes towards administration, actually delivering services. That would also probably be helpful.
Yeah, when I go through United Way application, I mean, we have to submit our 990 form or these tax verifications that you look at the information on the contract.
So, Madam Chair, if it's okay, so that we can whittle this down on whatever the next presentation is and it can be a little more clear, can we understand we have the mandated agencies, and then I understand that we would want to look at Lloyd F. Moss Free Clinic, data on that, and then maybe a little further insight on the Disability Resource Center and the Thurman Brisbane Homeless Shelter. That way, whenever we revisit, instead of looking at everything else, we can just focusing on those three. Would you be amenable to doing that? At least we can narrow it down to those three instead of next president, because whenever we revisit, that way we're not looking at the others.
So could you just add them to this, and this is what we look at next time?
That work for
Yeah, because this was a little confusing.
Yeah, that's what I was just saying, that's what we just wanted to see.
Usually we print out books. That's why I suggested last time, hey,
I hear you.
last work session, print out the books.
Well, it was good to see everything that at least requested, you know?
But that was us, I do remember Willa and Dr. Young asking us the question, do you want the whole book printed out for every one of you? And we said no.
Right.
We don't need to burn paper and ink, so, yeah, that was our choice.
Can we just get a digital copy next time?
I can send it to you,
That'd be good.
email.
Yeah, the only thing I was requesting was that
Those
slide
three.
printed.
That'd be great.
That,
that-
yeah, this
that's
right
three.
here is very helpful
This
with
time, yeah.
what we're looking for these three.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
slide.
just for free. Student to you, Mike?
Yes.
Thank you. Any more?
So we'll definitely answer the R5, bring that information back to you all. Wondering if we can have the discussion regarding at least the mandated agencies. Specifically, those are the budget requests.
Yes.
And the George Washington Regional Commission may seem a little high, but the
Yeah.
reason behind that is twofold. If you recall, GWRC came to the board meeting in December, asked for support for the homeless initiative. And the board said that they would want to support that initiative, coming in at a cost around $3,000. And the remaining portion is GWRC's attempt to ask all the localities for funding because they want to go ahead and establish a fund balance for the GWRC. They've currently been operating their budget without a fund balance. Each year they're running close to running into the hole. So now they're asking all the localities to pitch in funding to actually build a fund balance so they can address these contingency expenses.
So stupid question time. That increase, that's not mandated, correct? We're mandated to fund them, but the level we fund them is discretionary. Is that correct?
Sort of, sir, because all the member localities, number one, the member localities have a discussion with county administrators. We have a discussion about it, so we have understanding. But then they then take it to the GWRC board, which we have
We have
representation on,
voting.
and they make a vote. That all the member localities have participated, so it's not mandated, but basically in accordance with our regional agreement with our area localities.
One question too, can you reach out to Pat Holland to come and give a presentation for the Rappahannock Area Agency on Aging? She's had her surgery, so she should. And I know part of the reason they were asking for more money is they don't get funding for some things that they used to get funding from. It's just the way that the state mandates things and gives out money. Some of their services aren't supplied with the money anymore. So, if you have everything, Dr. Young?
I'm sorry.
All right, that's okay. We move on to budget impacts.
So the second topic for tonight's discussion revolves around factors that will have a significant impact on this year's budget. Please keep in mind that budget impacts revolve around expenditures, not revenue. This point is relevant because I'm sure that there will be some sticker shock experienced during the discussions of increased costs. However, we can expect that these increased costs to be offset by increased revenue forecasts. In addition, we have funds set up to further offset increased expenditures before declining expenditures or seeking tax increases. The most common budget impacts are depicted before you, which include state funding, school funding, and the remainders on the list. But let me reiterate that this is not the full or comprehensive list of budget impacts that we expect coming down the pipeline. Rather, I just want to ensure that our Citizen Advisory Committee understands that external influences, more often than not, affect the county budget. As a result, we're forced to respond to these influences and these drivers that contribute largely to our adopted budget and often to the county's tax rate. So here's our budget impacts for 2021. The mandatory programs are captured with a 1.7% increase to our VRS obligation, which comes in at a total of $260,000 additional, a 0.03% increase in life insurance, a decrease to our contribution to our commitment to the Juvenile Detention Center, and an additional $191,000 contribution to the Rappahannock Regional Jail. Please note that the 10% increase in the health insurance is simply a place marker. We do not yet have the premium quotes from Anthem Health and install a place marker so that we continue our planning. For optional programs at the bottom, I want to stress the word option. The board can decline the request tonight if so desired. However, the board can also leave these markers in place and can adjust these requests as the budget matures. This option affords us the ability to see what our needs will fully cost us while maintaining the ability to strike something out in order to put together a fiscal plan. This includes a $370,000 benchmarker to continue our support for the phase 3 of the county compensation plan. We also included the county attorney request as the board's requirement to have a full-time hire, internal hire for the county attorney. We also have the paralegal as suggested as support staff for the county attorney. And then we have the deputy county administrator position that was suggested by the board and my councilman this year. So those totals come in at an additional $1.4 million to the county's budget expenditures. That comes in at about 5.5 cent increase to the tax dollar. To put this in perspective, we're looking at $1.4 million in budget impacts in 2021. Same time last year, the budget impact for 1920 was $611,000. So I'm just a little bit concerned about how this is going to impact us going down the road. We're putting together our budget because not only do we have these budgetary impacts here, but as you will recall, we did have a discussion about the public safety and responding to the salary increases around the region, and that's going to come at an increased cost as well.
Now, are we sure on the retirement system what that increase is? Is that an official number?
The VRS?
The VRS?
That's an official number.
Okay.
Question on that, does that VRS increase include the school's VRS increase, or is that gonna be separate with the school's presentation?
That's right. Yeah, this is strictly county.
All right. Because the VRS is going up for us, King George County school employees' VRS is going up, that's gonna be probably double, triple that.
And I know that we have the 10% marker for county health insurance, but we did have a pre-discussion with Anthem Health, and I'm anticipating that health insurance is going to go up this year. It's coming down the pipeline.
So we know public safety is, I mean, are you comfortable giving the roundabout number of what we're looking at, or are you want to do that on a separate presentation?
That's a separate presentation.
Okay. So wow.
Yes, ma'am.
County employee compensation phase 3. Remind me what that is, because I know in the last couple of years, phase 1 and phase 2 was implemented. What
Phase
does
3
phase
is
3 look like?
Phase 3 is continuing pay increases, tiered pay increases in accordance with tenure with the county. That way we can make sure that our salaries don't fall behind with the market, and in the end we have to end up doing another compensation study and suffering another large increase like a phase 1 that we did 3 years ago. So basically just our commitment to keeping up with market by offering the county employees pay raises.
Is there any extreme impact in delaying that for a year?
I think that would have some effects that resonates across the administration as a whole.
But that phase 3 is not for our public safety, correct?
No.
Okay, why was that separate?
Because we haven't finished putting together the public. This includes it. We've been keeping this marker in place for the last 3 budget cycles, and those did address public safety as well. It addressed the administration as a whole. But when we started discussing our response to the market for public safety,
This is above
it's
that.
gonna, yeah, this is gonna have it all
This is
separate.
Okay, that's why I just wanted clarification on that.
Me personally, I know we're looking at deputy county administrator and we're looking at paralegal. Those are 2 things that I would be looking at as we further into the budget process, and if the thing that I would suggest, hey, board, this may be a way for it to cut costs, it may be something I would advise that, hey,
I was already gonna say that, especially the bottom one, the deputy county administrator, that.
If I may, Madam Chair, last year we spent significant time working with the schools for them to be able to realize their increases and their additional personnel to get to the appropriate staffing levels and to be competitive in pay. I believe we achieved it. It was quite a nice bump. But like last year and years prior, we constantly push off county staff. I'm afraid that we're going to come to a position where we're going to have retention issues. I think it's time for us to take care of the county, especially public safety. Public safety's last increase is over a decade since we've addressed that. Those are things, so I mean, it's just calling it what it is, and I'm probably putting a target on myself, but we know the schools are going to come with an increased budget request. I'm saying we always try to work with the schools, but we always look internally and we make our cuts to ourselves. We have departments that are still operating at staffing levels from when our population was 18,000 people. And I know they've been finding efficiencies and finding good ways to do things, just do more with less, but that mentality is really causing burnout. As far as the deputy county administrator, per consensus from the board, I put that in Dr. Young's counseling session because the workload is getting spread. Things need to be addressed. We as a board came to that conclusion that position needed to be filled.
That salary though might not.
That salary may be able to be negotiated. That may be able to
that's
be
salary
negotiated.
benefits.
So that includes health insurance and retirement.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So that-
Same with the county attorney.
I would like to bring that to this discussion on the next time, our optional, the ones, except for the county attorney, because we've all had consensus on that one.
Now, let me put it into perspective, because I know you all are concerned about, or asking about the $370,000 benchmark. So, as I stated before, for the last 3 budget cycles, we've had a place marker for county employee salaries. That sounds like a lot of money, but it doesn't spread very far. That translates into a 1%, 1.5%, 2%, 2.5% pay increase, depending on your tenure with the county. Last year, the year before that, the top salary increase was 2%. So it's just challenging, trying to.
It's not cool.
Yeah, it's challenging trying to address our county employees, but if we don't,
We're going to have a retention issue.
so.
No, not.
So that's going to be additional, but we haven't gotten to the revenue side with the projected additional revenues that are going to be coming in. This is just on top of what we funded last year, correct?
This is on top of what we funded last year for just budget impact. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I have to. But this doesn't include department.
Requests.
Right.
This is just salary and insurance and.
Well, we also knew this last year, and that's why we were adamant about trying to work it out to where we didn't realize the tax increase because we knew what this year was bringing us.
Did you have?
Just a couple of questions on the first 3 lines. Those are a function of employee count or payroll on the retirement, DRS, the life insurance, the insurance line. Those numbers.
You said that they come out of payroll?
As it is, the calculation is based on
Yes,
payroll or
sir.
based on.
Based on payroll.
Based on the actual.
And so then any other position description, positions or public safety adjustment will have that share as well.
It would increase that.
We will increase that.
This is current.
So whatever we do with our public safety would impact and make that higher.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And you're right, Mr. Bush. When we get into revenue forecasting, naturally, as expenditures go up, so does revenue. But I just can't, right now, I can't predict, and I sincerely doubt that. You know,
We're not going to bridge the gap.
It's not going to be bridged, so
No.
that's why, you know, I'm giving you all warning, hey, it's going to lead to a tax increase.
it's gonna come to a holistic view of everything. It can't be county schools. It has to be a holistic view of everything. And it's gonna be some interesting work sessions.
Is that all you had on the budget impact?
Yes, ma'am. So, that now brings us to our discussion regarding which department budgets the board would like to review line by line. Customarily select 3 departments. Departments that were reviewed in the last 2 budget cycles have been annotated in the new font. So I'd like to ask the board which, departments that you would like to bring to the next work session to do a line by line for the department budget.
Well, we've done 3. Do you guys still want to do 3 at one time?
Sure.
Didn't we do 3? So we have to pick 3.
How about economic development and tourism?
That's a good one. I like that. Is there a big consensus on that?
Yep. We just basically had a change of command or change of watch for the sheriff's office, so I'd like to look at that one.
Amenable.
That works for me.
I'd like to see engineering work.
Fair enough. I brought this up last time and I'll ask again, do we want to always review our own line by line? Our own board of supervisors? Administration and board of supervisors. They're not, it's not a particularly long one, so it
Right.
shouldn't take,
Yeah.
it shouldn't be overly onerous. We can do it when we do our,
Trouble.
capital request.
I think it's a good practice to always.
Absolutely.
The only other one that I'm looking at that is the registrar's office, and that is because of all the voting changes that we are going to incur the next year.
That's a great point. That's a
That
great
I
point.
really think we need to add that in because they're gonna have some major impacts with the amount of time that has to be left open for voting.
Yeah.
So are you guys okay with 4?
We can do 4, we can drop one if people want to. I was just trying to spitballing off the top. I thought Nick would appreciate the opportunity to come before everyone.
Well, I think those 4 are really good. I just wanted to add the registrar's office because of the voting impact. So we'll do those 4.
So, Trey.
Well,
So,
5 because we had it on.
Economic development.
I'm content with saying we can take economic development and tourism off if you guys want to.
No, I think that one should
Okay.
be on.
Economic Development Department, Sheriff's Office, Engineering and Public Works, Administration and the Board of Supervisors, and the Registrar's Office.
Yes. Because ours will be pretty quick, so.
This others will be.
Yes, the rest
Well,
of
I
it
get
will.
So then that brings us to, again, this isn't set in stone, but, the glide path for the way forward. I'd like to request the board, provide us dates for the next, work session.
How far do you want to go?
2 weeks.
2 weeks? Okay. No more than 2 weeks or at least 2 weeks? Let me ask that.
Hold on, I gotta look.
No more than 2 weeks or at least 2 weeks?
At least 2 weeks.
At least 2 weeks, got it.
I can look at my calendar and pretend I'm busy.
It's the
Call yourself
25th.
out there.
That's 2 weeks from tonight. It's our 4th Tuesday.
What day is that?
It's a Tuesday, the 25th of February.
I can do that.
I'm sorry, say that one
I
again.
can't do anything.
25th?
The 7th of March. Wow, okay.
Whoa, what in March?
I can't do it that last week of February, 1st of March, I can't do anything.
All right, then we have to push it to the second week of March.
Yeah, I'm
Hold on,
out.
hold on.
What about the third, what about the week of the 17th?
That's what I'm.
That's next week.
That's next week.
I know.
What about next Thursday?
If it's either next week or March.
Oh,
we'll-
I
24th.
can't do these.
So
I
Ms.
can't do
Bittner and I have GWRC and
Yes.
Panto on the 24th, so one of us has to go
What
to
about
that.
next Thursday?
Yes.
20th?
21?
Okay, yeah. Well,
Are you sure?
Yes, sir.
Wait, which date are we
What
doing?
is the
The
date?
20th, Thursday, the 20th of February.
We'll make it happen. Well, what to the challenge?
Still here, we can meet after this?
Oh, no.
So are we the 20th then? 20th?
20th at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
And we'll send out the location.
And then also for work session number 3, we'll make sure that all of us have our tracker budgets into you by what, like that Monday? Is since that will be line by line, what do you guys think, by
Sure.
the 17th?
I'm ready to go through now. Please, mine.
I don't have my, I have nothing on my other computer, so.
That's fine.
So by the
Yes.
17th, Dr. Young have our travel budget request. Or earlier, by that date. We'll get an invite, right, so we can have it on our calendar?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That concludes, my presentation for the budget. We're gonna turn it over to Nick. We had to sit down with GWRT and do that today to set a smart scale, and, Nick wanted to discuss the details of it.
I'm gonna give you guys some stuff to look over after, and I'm gonna give you what we're gonna focus on today. So this here is just the arterial study, and basically, I'm sure you guys have seen this already.
Yeah.
But I just want you guys to reference this later tonight if you guys have any questions. Alright, I'm gonna shut you down. I apologize to everybody else, I only brought 5. Okay? So what I'm gonna give you now is what we're gonna focus on tonight, just to kind of narrow it down. So at the top, this is where I'm gonna start the discussion. The top is what we discussed with VDOT today, as far as the crossovers and then the reasoning behind it. And you can be with us so you can follow. I'm trying to hook up the computer here to show you the last bit.
For the internet access?
Yeah, I'm good on the internet. I just need to try to get to the screen. That's all. I can.
You know what this is?
This one's here, right? Is that HDMI? I brought one. So if I can, I mean, I could just get on here and do it. Yeah, I wonder if I can just do it.
All right, you ready?
Just about, just about. Well, yeah, I can just, where's the remote? Oh, it's a touch screen? Oh, there you go. All right, so what you guys have in front of you are just the crossovers and the intersection improvements. All right, so approximately there are 8 projects totaling about $2.8 million. Okay, the first one that I want to discuss is on page, it's H21. Hopefully it's right there in front of you, but it's number 39. Okay.
So all these projects are 2.8 million, right?
Yeah, so the total is 2.8. The cost for them is about 0.4 to 0.5.
That's just for the first one or all of them?
Yeah, that's just for the first one.
Okay.
But the majority of them range between 0.2 to 0.3, 0.5,
Okay.
0.6.
Just wanted
It
to-
all depends on how much,
I see here.
how much work needs to be done to it. But so that first one is a just to construct left turn lane.
It's to remove them, correct?
This is for the crossover. It says the recommendation is to construct left turn lanes on US 301. The cost is 0.4 million to 0.5, so $400,000, $500,000.
Right, but you have 36, 37, wait a minute, 36, 38, and 40 are all removed.
Sorry?
Right here on this appendix H.
Yes, I need to give you this.
That's all right.
so you guys can follow what I got. 'Cause these are their recommendations.
Okay, I was just looking at.
No, I know, you're looking at what I gave you, I didn't give you a full list. I might give you two.
Okay, this is a little different.
So that'll narrow it down for you. And so then these projects, these were identified by VDOT for safety and economic development concerns. The proximity, they all really are because of their proximity to the school's transportation facility, as well as the Mary Washington campus, and just in general, the Dalvin Road and Dalvin in general because of the growth in that area. So what I'm trying to do is bring up Google here.
Do you have maps to show us too on there? Because I have lots of questions.
Sure. Because I believe one of your concerns were like where they were being located at because of some of the businesses and stuff. All of these are generally,
These are for the removing and adding turn right?
right.
The first one we're talking about. Yeah, I just want to see.
Yeah, so 39 is just about down here somewhere. I know it's a little cloudy on your paper, but I believe this is 39.
Which is, where is that?
This is just south of the transportation building.
So is it before, oh, it's right after, going towards Caroline County?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where is Walker compared to that? Walker Sand Gravel? That's up from it, right?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
further north, yeah. That's further north. And then,
So that would be removed, that one, correct?
well, this would be to construct a left turn lane. This is number 39. So,
39, right,
yep,
gotcha.
on page H21. And then the second one is number 40, and this is to remove the crossover.
Now, how does that affect the school buses going into the?
For number 40,
Well, see, my question is obviously 301 is being turned into a throughway, sort of like 95.
so what
And we
we're
have
looking at,
buses that turn in there. My concern is safety for the bus drivers, because I will tell you.
so this would be number 40 here.
Right, so what I'm asking is, where, the entrance right there is the bus garage. If they
Right.
take that other one away, what can they do for the bus drivers to make it safer to go into the bus garage? Because I know some bus drivers go down to that other one to make a safer turn. So is there anything they can do to help those bus drivers get into the lot? Does it, everybody understand what I'm, looking for safety?
Understood. Sorry?
You had it a minute ago, so you could see.
So that would go away.
Yeah,
Right.
this one will go in, and I believe 41.
Because that's right across from the other one's right across from the bus garage. The other one's right down, but I do know some bus drivers do go down to make a safer turn.
You're talking about the next one, down at
Mhm.
39?
Yeah, I believe
Well, I'm
41.
left-hand turn lane.
So,
No, but he's talking about 40, isn't 40 the one down
yeah, so
below?
40, where I have my mouse at right now,
Is 40, correct?
yeah,
Correct.
40
So
will
that
go
would
away. But what
Right.
they're looking at is constructing a left turn lane.
But that's what I just want to make sure so
Or,
that the buses.
yeah, that number 41, I believe, is where they're constructing the left turn lane from 301, and then they're widening the median.
Well, they're also 39, so across
Correct.
from the bus garage. I just want to be
Correct.
safety for the bus drivers. I mean,
Yeah,
those are big
right.
vehicles.
Heading down this way, that number 39, which is a little bit further down, will be left-hand turn lanes.
Right, that's all I want to make sure is the bus drivers have a good way to get in there that
Correct.
is safe.
I think that would help.
Yeah.
to have them turn.
All right. So then moving down there, there's number 69, which is, this is towards the Dalvin intersection. So before we move forward, are we all pretty
As long
we're
as
pretty
it's-
solid on those crossovers and those intersection improvements, right?
As long as that left turn lane's long enough for buses, so.
Mr. Bush?
Good.
Okay.
Sixty-nine needs to be removed,
Yeah, I wanna see.
and that's the one right about where you come into the McDonald's parking lot.
Right?
No, it's
The far right. Upper far right,
Right up here, right?
and that's McDonald's and the
Right,
Dunkin'
Dunkin'
Donuts.
Donuts, yes.
yes.
So where is that on this? Where's the McDonald's? Sorry.
The, down, straight down,
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, exactly.
and to the right is the Dunkin' Donuts.
So 69 will be
Upper
removed.
Woods area.
So they were moving that way that people go into the McDonald's is basically?
Yeah, that's if you're going southbound, then that's when you would use it to go into the McDonald's. But the proposal is to remove that and then potentially use it for the intersection that they're proposing for the county. There.
For the U-turn.
I don't have a
Exactly.
total, because that is kind of a little dangerous, people zipping across to the McDonald's, so I really don't have a problem with that.
Right, right.
The one by the Walmart is the worst.
And then number 70, this is also to remove crossover. This is just further down.
Oh.
Now, hold on, isn't that where the People's Community Bank is?
No,
No, it's just,
this is a home here.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, that is not
it's the
okay.
U-turn place.
So this one here would be removed, and I think this, the idea of this is just to prevent people from, I guess, when there's, what do I wanna call it, when there's this rush hour times, prevent people from cutting across traffic, slowing it down, stopping the flow, and I think they're also planning for the bridge as well. So,
No problem with that.
71 is to construct a left turn lane off 301. Make sure I get this one right and show it to you guys. I think this is a little further
That's the one
down.
going into
Yeah, this is on the right, this is on the northbound side.
That only my concern on that one is the bank, and also that developed land has signs for sale for development.
the, so that would be,
You know what I mean?
yes.
So we
Yeah, there
don't know
was-
what's gonna be there.
Of course, yeah. I mean, if there was ever development there, then that's something that.
They would probably have to bring it up to a standard.
Exactly.
But that's okay, because if it has a sign for commercial development, we're gonna score more for economic development. which is
Exactly.
one of the things we're weighing higher on, so that's a good thing, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I just wanna make sure the bank, the people that go to that bank have enough, to get into the bank.
I think that's the one at the back,
It
isn't
is, it is.
Yeah, that's what my concern was, just don't wanna take away the
Then
bank.
moving down to 72, this is just past Bayberry. This is up to this one here.
There's nothing there, is there?
No,
No,
it's
so
just
that one
woods.
just can.
Yeah,
say
exactly.
goodbye.
Right, and then the next one below that is 34, and that's the reconfigured intersection. So that has to do with the turn lane as well. So, and we'll get to the turn lane after we get through the others. So then we also discussed within the Port Conway turning lane replacement. If you guys are all in agreement with that one, if we need to look at it or if we need to
No,
justify that, we're okay with
I'm
that?
good with that.
Yep.
Okay. And then obviously the Indian Town Road one, I think that's all a slam dunk. I think we all want to go for that one as well.
Nick,
Sir.
Mr. Stonehill.
Yeah, sure.
Why did we decide that again, just because of the curve?
And there was accidents there.
Yeah, but the car dealership's leaving. So, that's gonna take a lot of that traffic out of there, so it's gonna be just, it's a bad curve.
It is.
Lots of wrecks right there. There's a lot of people that cut through and turn right. That's
Right.
a shortcut to go through Fort Conley and turn right. But, that whole dealership's leaving, so that's gonna cut down quite a bit of traffic that's going in and out of that little crack.
I don't know how much traffic actually goes into the dealership, but,
Where are they going?
yeah.
Well, coming out of the dealership and stuff, customers and everything.
But you're saying the dealership is leaving, where are they going?
Oh, it's all,
Yeah, they're expanding now, no.
But I thought
Are
that,
they going to Dahlgren for sure? Cause that's,
They're going to Dublin for sure, but I don't think that they're abandoning.
Yeah, right.
yeah, because they were leaving half
I
of
think
it
they're
there.
gonna maintain that footprint there as well, because that's not allowed to take, right now, at least a lot from us, for all the off-car
you're
storage.
gonna be able to
And
take
so
their
they're
stuff
going to, maintain,
the transportation lot we're
To-
talking about,
to their-
at least from us, and put it on their current.
exactly, maintain their footprint there, and then they're gonna have their flagship.
Right.
I discovered that the dealership isn't utilizing this area of storage and service, just King George, and actually looking at King George as a hub to move the cars, deeper into Virginia, so they're not going to, decrease the footprint, they want to take as much space as they want.
Right, right. Okay. Yeah, and they should be, well, they're expanding, we don't need to
I got
go too far into it. But to the Port Conway one, that intersection, from what they're recommending in the arterial study, it's currently not up to code or up to their standards for them to make that turn lane, so I think that's one of the reasons why it's also suggested. So are we good with the Port Conway one? All right. So now we're gonna get into the controversial intersections. So when we had a discussion with them today, we basically explained to them that you guys were not happy with that. So I have a meeting with them tomorrow to kind of discuss some alternatives. One of the issues that we're kind of under the gun, we have a deadline, a short deadline. So what we need to do is work with them to try to figure out what that is. Now, it could be a basic fix. However, the fix that they're proposing to us now, the reason why they are proposing it, I just wanted to show you guys this so you kind of get an understanding of it. I'm not for or against, what I am for is just for a solution, okay? So I'm just gonna show you guys why they're proposing this, and then you guys just let me know how you feel about it. Because what I'm gonna show you first is why they wanna remove the left-hand turns, and then I wanna show you what their solution is. And so they have these videos,
This is 301 and 206?
well, the first thing I'm gonna show you is just the
Is the
left,
one from Maryland, correct?
301 to 205 and then 301 to 206.
I'm just waiting.
Can I ask a quick question or point? With with removing the crossovers, has that been socialized with the fire chief or with the sheriff? One of the things with limited access highway is the ability to get your emergency vehicles in the right direction on the turn lanes.
Some of this is out of our VDOT, correct?
yeah, exactly right.
Okay. So, just someone have to look through.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So these are the left-hand turn issues, I would say, that these intersectors are trying to correct. Now, we don't have to watch the full video, but I just want to give you a feel of what these intersections prevent. So I'm gonna get it to play.
Is it not loaded?
That is one of the projects that was approved, that is funded when I-Works was over.
Okay, so that
That's
would
a
be.
partner intersection with University Drive Commerce, and that's called Marketplace up there in Poncho Villa. It's a partner intersection. We're getting two for the price of one.
Turn me an address.
So you are a great writer.
Nick, thank you for doing this. I believe I requested this at last week's meeting.
Yeah, so this is, so we'll go over
So I appreciate it.
we'll show the innovative intersections, and then, so in the back of one of the handouts I gave you, it should give you the breakdown of the two intersections they're proposing, and the benefits and the benefits of them. And I guess we would essentially try to figure out which one works best for the Dahlgren one, and then they're only proposing the MUT one, for the 205 intersection, so.
Is this video showed their example in Maryland that they tout?
No, which one you,
For the left turn, I'm talking about the 205, because they have mentioned the one, when I was originally 2 years ago, when they're first talking, they
Uh-huh.
talked about the ones they have on 301 in Maryland past the Bay Bridge.
okay,
And they showed video
okay,
of those turn lanes.
I'm not familiar with them.
They're all on that stretch.
It's all 40 feet.
But the problem with those intersections, and my husband just traveled this 2 days ago, is once you go past the Bay Bridge and past the police station, there's nothing out there. So the lanes work really well because there's nothing out there except for farmland all the way to the Delaware border. So for us, it wouldn't work. There, it works great because there's nothing out there.
Nick,
Yes,
so
sir.
here's what's going on. You're probably not gonna be able to get on YouTube because, we have those blocks on the county network.
Okay.
So I have the videos, in the email on my phone. We use my phone, we use your phone and.
Well, I can hook it, I already have it loaded on my laptop. Let me see if I can just transfer this cord over here real quick.
When they got your setting it up, did they make any change or are they just giving us back the same thing again?
Well, we haven't had a chance to sit down with them to get that alternative proposed to us yet. So tomorrow, that's when we will discuss that with them, exactly.
I mean,
But this is to come back to you guys and say, hey, this is the reasoning and this is the model that they're proposing based on what their experts think is best for us. So I just want to give that a chance, give that one more chance, because when I come back, because I don't know if we're going to be able to come back with another alternative. Now me and Neiman will press them, but we can't guarantee that we're going to come back with an alternative.
Which
So.
is what I told you last week.
Yeah.
Is we can say that, but they can come back to us and say, we have this study and this is what we came up with the study, and if you want something at that intersection, it's based on what came through in the study.
Well, for me, if it's what they gave us again, then nope, no thank you.
Yeah. So you guys understand how left-hand turns work, right? But essentially, what we're trying to prevent is that crash where both people are making this turn. And if somebody's making a right turn, the person who's making that left doesn't come and sideswipe them or hit them when they're making that left turn. So what this one does here, let's say the QR one, the quadrant one is for intersections that I believe are making
So this is the one that,
less. Yeah, this would be the Dalvin Road example. So this is for the ones that are making frequent left-hand turns, and then the other one is for if you're not making as many. That's more supportive. That's more supportive for through traffic, but this one is more supportive for people who are making left-hand turns. So there's an intersection that's making the frequent left-hand turns. Okay. So I'll just show you this demonstration really quick.
because I have a question on that.
Hopefully it'll load. There we go.
And interchanges. The quadrant roadway, or QR, is one type of innovative intersection. A QR is made up of one main intersection and two secondary intersections that are linked by a connector road. Left turn vehicles from all four legs of the main intersection use the secondary intersections and connector road instead of the main intersection to complete left turn movements. QRs are designed to accommodate all roadway users, including larger vehicles such as school buses, emergency vehicles, and trucks, as well as pedestrians and cyclists. Let's take a closer look at how a QR works for motorists. Motorists continue straight just like at a conventional intersection, and depending on their direction of travel, either turn right at the main intersection or use the connector road to complete their movement. Motorists complete left turn movements using the connector road, but the exact path of each left turn movement varies by approach. Some motorists complete left turns without traveling through the main intersection. Other motorists travel straight through the main intersection and use the connector road to complete their desired movements. Pedestrians and cyclists can also navigate a QR. Pedestrians use marked crosswalks to safely cross the intersections. Cyclists have the choice to either navigate the intersections using crosswalks and pedestrian paths, or if they are more comfortable, cyclists can follow the same paths as vehicles. There are several benefits of the QR design, such as Improved safety. QRs reduce the number of points where vehicles cross paths, which decreases the potential for crashes. Increased efficiency. At a QR, rerouting left turns allows for fewer traffic signal phases at the main intersection, which means less time waiting for through and right turn vehicles. Better synchronization. Synchronization of the three main intersections at a QR improves corridor travel times on both the major and side streets. To improve safety and efficiency on Virginia roads, VDOT works with local jurisdictions to find the right intersection type for a location and tailors the design to its specific needs. To learn more about QRs and other innovative intersection designs, visit VDOT's website at www.virginiadot.org/innovative intersections.
So now that's over, so I just wanted to mention this to you 1 second. So the level of service for this is basically the grading, how they grade this intersection. What we are currently at right now is an E in the morning and an F in the evening. So an E is basically the second to the last, F is the worst grade, E is the second to the last grade. With the quadrant intersection, we're going to a D in the morning and then an E in the evening. With the U-turn, with the median U-turn, which I'll show you here in a second, we're going to an E in the AM and then a D in the PM. So it's sort of, you know, I'm not gonna say pick your poison, but it's sort of like, you know, they raise it, but it doesn't completely solve the problem. Obviously, I think what we would want to be at is either a C or a B. It'll never be an A, probably ever. But what I think we want to try to do is get it a C. Well, this is essentially a temporary fix until either there's more development, or that we figure out a bypass, or we expand somewhere else. But this is the solution as far as the quadrant goes. And like I said, this one here is designed for frequent left-hand turns. So if we're looking at that intersection, that Dalvin intersection, I'm not sure, you know, I haven't lived in the county or been in the county that often, but I would assume that there are a lot of people who make that left-hand turn up there, either to go to Caroline or to go out to Westmoreland. Or they take the Route 3 route to cut across the courthouse. But I believe that there's a lot of people who just take Dalvin Road, and either they use that to get across to Stafford County or to get to Spotsylvania or to the city, or they just use Dalvin and get the Route 3 and then cut our way across. So I'm not gonna say this is a perfect option for us, but just, you know, I kind of see this one working better than the median. So let me just show you that one really quick.
Well, about this one.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
So a lot of people use it just to go to Wawa. If you look right there at that intersection just to get into Wawa, it's insane right there. But from a state taxpayer perspective, you're putting a significant investment in somewhere where it's not really doing anything. It's a waste of money. I mean, at the end of the day, they're going to spend all this money, all this construction time, all these delays, and the outcome is going to be, you still got traffic issues right there. It solves nothing. So from a state taxpayer perspective, I think VDOT's wasting my money.
And my other question is, how much property do they have to take? Do they have to take just that empty lot, or do they have to take the house next to it to build that?
Well,
They're not taking property, man, they'd be buying right away.
Well,
right.
I understand that, but
It costs money.
it's gonna cost money, and if the people don't want to sell it.
Yeah, then you gotta.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Eminent domain, if they don't want to sell it, you're gonna wind up having that, or they're gonna have that issue.
And that has a long family history.
The other thing is with that, is that, oh, I'm sorry, Ms.
Yeah,
Phelps, I didn't see your hand. I apologize.
Thank you.
I'm sorry about that.
May I, Madam Chair?
Mm-hmm, yes, you
Thank
can.
you. So what we're not looking at is the bigger picture here, though. Mr. Minor, can you bring up the intersection of 301 and Windsor,
Yeah, help me out.
218? If
Okay,
you
now
head
go back to
south,
Okay, yeah.
yeah, back where.
Oh, yeah,
right.
I know what
So
you're talking
this intersection here, so what we're not thinking about is the bigger picture. When people are going north or south on 301.
Yep.
And they want to make, at least from 301 proper, and they want to make a left turn. If I'm going north on 301 and I want to turn left at 206, say to go in the Wawa,
Right.
almost everything I wanna do, I could do from Windsor if I turn left at Windsor. So how they came up with this, for this intersection, is because they know, they've run the numbers, and they know there are not that many people turning left at 301 and 206. I guarantee, if we pulled up the traffic counts, and I can tell you this from having written Potomac Elementary School SRO grant 3 years ago. The traffic data was not there for people turning left there,
Turning left onto 206?
making left turns for the most part at that intersection.
Yeah, on the
At all.
301, yeah.
No, at 206 and 301, which is why they're suggesting eliminating the left turns, because a lot of the traffic can go down Windsor and go around the back way to hit, if you wanna go to Wawa, let's be real. Are we doing something special just to make Wawa happy? People who wanna go to Wawa, if you're going northbound, can just turn left on Windsor and go around the back to get to Wawa, and then it's on your right before you get back to the intersection.
I was talking about coming up 206 through the red light at that intersection at 301, then they're making the immediate left to go to the Wawa. Like that's a backup all the time that I'm seeing all the time today.
Right, so now they'd be going straight across the intersection and using that entrance down, the back entrance to go to the credit union to get into the Wawa. Likewise, when you're coming southbound on 301, a lot of folks aren't necessarily turning left on 206 to go to the base, because if they're coming from across the bridge, or they live up in Bayberry or somewhere up there, they're turning left at Owens to go in that gate, they're turning left at Commerce Drive and going around the back way. They've already made their left turn to go to the base. So they're not waiting until they get all the way down to 206 to turn left, because they know that's gonna be a nightmare, because it's already a nightmare. So they're making their left turn way north of there, if they're coming southbound.
What about the people coming out of the base in the evening, they go left? Because there are a lot, and they're also coming from Potomac Elementary School.
Well,
So what does that do to them?
so that's why I think the QR one would probably work best, because if you are concerned with those left-hand turns, the QR one is designed for that, to handle that.
And that would add another red light, correct?
Well, these things are synced, so when you say add another red light, it's not necessarily how it works. So as soon as that light turns green for through traffic, the second light and the third light is also
They're all
green.
running on the same.
Oh, they're
Exactly.
synced, yeah.
So they're all green at once, and then when that one turns red, everybody who needs to make that left-hand turn, all left-hand turns can be made, and then they continue on. So,
Go back to that slide with Oakland Baptist Church.
Well, my other question, is it gonna be 2 lanes or just one on each side?
So the design that they have right now is yes, 2 lanes.
Two.
One in each direction, right?
Exactly.
And then that way,
If they're trying to refocus traffic to utilize Windsor instead, that's gonna be a problem when they get to Delvin Road. That's that intersection I've been complaining about forever in my district. I mean, it's already insane.
Yeah, and it has a lot of crowd.
So if they're gonna be diverting people there,
man, they're really not diverting people
Yeah,
there,
I don't
because the
see that.
people are already using Windsor. Do you get what I'm saying? They're already, they have that option to make that left turn there to go around the back to get to the stuff that's around the back. So that traffic is already there. It's not like it's adding more traffic to it. It's diverting the traffic that would normally turn left onto that quadrant roadway.
Right.
That's what's gonna absorb the traffic there on the quadrant roadway. Not Windsor, not, and that's part of the design. And there was one other thing and the other thing I would add is, you're talking about the cost of acquiring the property. Part of the application is ROW, right of way, which means part of the price, the project price
It's already
includes
included.
what VDOT would have to pay to acquire the right of way, like Dr. Young said.
Right.
So that's built into the project. That's if VDOT wants to fly this, VDOT can fly this, and that's part of the project. They pay for it, not us. If we don't put any match in this, and we're not looking to put any match.
Isn't that
Right.
a little bit?
Sure.
Well, my only worry is if the property owners don't want to sell. You know?
That's good. I'm gonna stand up to try to make my point, because I think it'll be easier than trying to point. I brought this up last time. So if we're gonna be removing, this is Dalton Road, right? Yeah, this is Dalton Road. We're gonna be removing this left-hand turn in the mornings. There's a significant number of cars that are making this left-hand turn. And so if we're saying that they're gonna be taking this right-hand turn and then doing U-turns to head this way, or doing this loop around to come up this way, I can tell you a number of people, I believe, I don't have to back this up, but I think instead of saying, hey, I'm gonna do this weird left-hand turn, I'm just gonna hop on Owens.
Which is already.
Yeah, the backside.
And they're just gonna run that on down to D-gate.
Yes, they are.
Right.
And so I think it's going to increase congestion on Owens significantly.
That's a good point. However, I would think that people would just cut across Route 3. So instead of, just to avoid that turn, just cut across Route 3 and just take 301 and just go through the 3 traffic light to avoid that. You get what I'm saying? So if they're coming, so let's say I live in Stafford County and I work at the base. I'm gonna take Route 3, and instead of taking Dalvin Road, because I wanna avoid having to do that, what we would say an unnecessary left-hand turn, go down and around, I would just cut across, come past the courthouse, go straight to 301, exactly, and go straight and just do the throughway. You get what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying.
Once I learned that, once I learned that turn is a pain, that's what I would do in the morning.
You have people that are stopping at the school first, dropping off kids, and then convenience.
Right.
I agree with you. I think there will be some subset of people that will do that,
Right.
but I also believe it's going to increase traffic on Owens.
No, I can see it happening, yeah. I can definitely see it happening.
That's my biggest concern. I don't have a problem with the idea of the quadrant. It looks weird at first thinking about it, but I kind of get the idea of how it can help with the flow. But I feel like it's going to have a secondary cause that maybe beat on time.
Unintended consequences.
I did like the video because it did explain it better.
So,
Do we want to see the second one before we have any more discussion?
has staff or you, Dr. Young, has anyone floated this by the base to see?
They have seen them, we have sent it to them, and we've sent both copies. So I don't know if they've seen the videos yet, but we have seen both proposals. We haven't got any feedback on them yet, so.
Because I would want to know. They feel about it.
I won't put any words in their mouth, but if it's outside of their gates,
They don't.
they're probably, I mean, it's not as much of an impact to them.
Gotcha.
It's also. But I don't want to put words in their mouth, but they want to.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely put in a call to Alan, Mr. Black, and see and see if they've had some discussion at NSWC about it. So.
Because I'm asking that because 2 years ago, the base commander did write a letter of support for the project up in front of the Walmart and the Pancho Villa.
Okay.
So
And
worth seeing, getting some input.
we haven't, like Nick and I haven't spoken with Captain Leary or South Potomac, but you guys have been in constant discussion with them. And
Right.
again, basically throwing the weight around, and that was a forcing function for VDOT to come up with recommendations to address those intersections. So they definitely received feedback prior to making that recommendation to us.
Because we did put in for this intersection last time too, and this was the only one that didn't get funded out of those 4. So for me, I have a lot of heartburn with, I want to do something with this intersection to make it better.
And just wham bam, we go down the street, all of a sudden, hey, this is a great idea. Oh yeah, this is a great idea. Now that they saying, hey, we want to address this, so.
Right. So we'll view this one. So this one is also been proposed for the Dalvin Road and 301 intersection, as well as the 205 intersection. So.
And this was how we put it in last time. This was the project
The
last
Virginia
time.
Department of
At 301 and
Transportation,
206, the
VDOT,
MOT.
is committed to improving safety at U-turns and interchanges. The median U-turn, or MUT, is one type of innovative intersection. An MUT is made up of one main intersection and 2 median crossover intersections. At an MUT, all left turns are completed by making a U-turn at one of the median crossovers. MUTs are designed to accommodate all roadway users, including larger vehicles such as school buses, emergency vehicles, and trucks, as well as pedestrians and cyclists. Let's take a closer look at how an MUT works for motorists. On the main street, motorists continue straight and turn right just like at a conventional intersection. To turn left, motorists will go straight through the main intersection, make a U-turn at the adjacent median opening, and then turn right onto the side street. From the side street, motorists who wish to make a left turn onto the main street will turn right, go to the adjacent median opening, and make a U-turn. All motorists who wish to go straight or turn right will proceed as they would through a conventional intersection. Pedestrians and cyclists can also navigate an MUT. Pedestrians use marked crosswalks to safely cross the intersection. Cyclists have the choice to either navigate the intersection using crosswalks and pedestrian paths, or, if they're more comfortable, cyclists can also follow the same paths as vehicles. There are several benefits of an MUT design, such as improved safety. MUTs reduce the number of points where vehicles cross paths, which decreases the potential for crashes. Increased efficiency. MUTs eliminate left-turn movements from the main intersection. This means that there are fewer interruptions and more vehicles can move through the same space more efficiently. Shorter wait times. MUTs typically operate with fewer traffic signal phases, which means motorists spend less time stopping at the main intersection. To improve safety and efficiency on Virginia roads, VDOT works with local jurisdictions to find the right intersection type for a location and tailors the design to its specific needs. To learn more about MUTs and other innovative intersection designs, visit VDOT's website at www.virginiadot.org/in.
So that's what's being proposed for.
So that's the secondary choice for the two.
Yeah, for 206 and 301, and
And
this
then
is the
205.
primary choice, right, for 205, right? I am saying that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I still have a problem with it, because I don't see where, I travel that all the time, and I don't see all the crashes. Maybe I'm just blind, but I think that'll cause a lot more problems. A lot of buses come out of there, you know, when schools gets out of King George Elementary. I just don't see the problem there.
I think it has to do with traffic flow. So you
I
can have
don't
those
care
other
about
things.
traffic flow for VDOT, and I've said that before. They're not considering the county. I mean, a lot of people turn left there. I mean, it's not our job to make it a thoroughfare.
I don't disagree with you, but then that means we have impacts if we have backups of cars just sitting on our roads. I mean, we see it down in the Delaware area.
I know, but you're gonna
Just
have.
because you say, saying VDOT's problem, it is our problem, because we're the
It
ones
is
who
our
live here.
problem, you are correct, but, I mean, those are a lot of people that turn left, especially when King George Elementary gets out. And now you're gonna have them all going, and are they gonna make that turn lane longer to
Oh,
accommodate
definitely.
all of them? I don't think so. So, what do you guys think?
You know, for this, I would say for this intersection, I believe this one would actually work. Only because just given, not a lot of people are making a left-hand turn right there to go
Well,
towards,
there's quite a few.
well, to go towards Caroline County.
Oh, no, I'm talking about at 205 going left, you're going down towards the base.
Yeah, I do, yeah, that one does make a lot of sense. But as far as the people coming from like Westmoreland County or just
Oh,
coming
no,
from
no,
the
there's
east
not
side
any.
of, right, so, but I do get you when people are making that left-hand turn to go to the base, there will be quite a few people. That's true.
I mean, for me, also too, I see the potential for more issues at the Eden Drive exchange because of Oakwood Estates, the new development that's gonna be built on Eden Drive, and the potential of the Ralph Bunche Community Center. I see a lot more potential problem that needs to be addressed there than I do at the other intersection. And I have mentioned that to VDOT before, because I see it myself when I go that way. If they don't mow the grass, it's hard to see to make the left-hand turn. It's the way the road is, and now if you're going to add, you have 2 housing developments and a potential arts and humanities center, that's more of an impact to the county. I'm just saying.
I think this has a much better chance personally than, I think the repercussions of going down a Delaware, which is great.
I would agree with that. And if we want to do it, I would pick that one over the 205, 301.
No, I'm saying
Oh,
that.
he's saying the opposite of what you're saying.
I'm saying going with one of these plans down at the Dahlgren Road 301 intersection would be, switching that up would have, I think, much more significant consequences.
I got you.
That would have a bigger impact, negative impact on the community in the long run.
So just so you guys, the level of service on this one, the way this one scores, in the AM it scores as a D, and the PM it scores as an F. With the median U-turn with the MUT upgrade, it would score, both of them would score at a D.
Well, and I think that skewed the nighttime data where they might just be looking at the time the school gets out, King George Elementary.
Right, but it's also, I think for the nighttime data, I think you're also looking at the base traffic as well that use that turn. The majority of those people are turning right when they're coming,
That would be
when they're coming up from 301.
Oh,
They wouldn't
okay.
be making that left turn. They would only be, but there would only be but a handful of people making that left-hand turn who work at the base. So they could make that U and then come back to head towards Westmoreland.
I just think it's
Or down the north.
ridiculous. Just look at the grades, and that's based on their studies. We're spending a lot of money for
Yeah.
really no impact,
Yeah, I mean,
no positive
so
impact.
it's hard for me to argue that because, you know, I'm not a VDOT employee. I don't understand necessarily how that scoring is done, but I would assume that being able to at least go up one grade would probably make a huge difference. Because we're talking about traffic here, you know, we're not talking about, you know, like some pedestrian walkway. Please, Annie. Help me.
We're talking about traffic right now, folks.
Right, that's true.
We're not talking about
That's another
traffic
thing.
20 years from now, 3 years from now, when the bridge is done and it's double, and 20 years from now, when the average daily trips go from 26,000 per day to 50-something thousand per day. So I
Could be
guess
worse than
we're
with these.
at the point where either we do something now and put in for one or both of these that have a small measure now for what we know is here now, knowing what's coming, or we just say no and we don't put in for them and we do nothing. The alternative is to do nothing. So we can either do nothing and keep it the way it is, or we can try something, one or both of these things that maybe look a little crazy because we don't have a lot of any of these intersections around here. That's the bottom line here. Either we do nothing or we try something, and that's it.
I'm
that's
content
important.
with doing it at the 205, 301. Like I said, I just looking at secondary impacts. I don't have a problem with the flow down at the Dahlgren Road intersection. I just think there will be secondary impacts. And I think there will be pretty big ramifications too for those people who live on Owens Road and the quality of that road. It's not a great road to drive on, and if you increase traffic that much, I really do think it will have a big impact, and I'm concerned. I think it will be a net negative for flow.
I agree with you.
Immediate. Like
But
immediate.
I still think we should concentrate instead of the 205, 301 is the Eden, I know it's not on the gist, but the Eden Drive 301, I think is more detriment to us in the future than that other intersection.
So what if we didn't do 301 and 206? So can you remind me, Mr. Minor, slot 1,
Yep.
is that us putting in an application or is that the joint GWRC?
That is us.
That is us.
Yeah, so we confirmed with GWRC today that Caroline would not be participating.
But it is a GWRC.
Yes,
It
it
is
is.
a GRC slot.
Right.
Not King George slot.
Caroline's
It's
mostly
it's
40.
GWRC slot, but King George is taking it.
Right.
Correct, but we don't get, we get a certain number that we can.
GWRC counts that against their
Quote.
Against their.
Slot one.
allocated slots,
Against their allocated slot.
against the number that they can put in for. So this doesn't count against
Their
our
private
number,
residence.
right? So why I'm asking that,
Good point.
so maybe then so technically slot 1 is open because GWRC is putting in for that on our behalf, right? Okay, so against King, so we get 4 for King George County, because we're not gonna do a 5th free application, we
Right.
talked about that last meeting. So we have Port Conway is one of our, counts as one of our slots, Indiantown 206 counts as the second one.
Yep.
If we do 301 and 205, which
Yep.
sounds like maybe everyone is a little more agreeable to that, I
I
don't
know
know
it's
if
bigger,
there's,
but
I don't know if there's consensus or not, but if that's what y'all are looking at, we don't do 301 and 206, so now there is a 4th potential that we could do something else, maybe like what Ms. Binber's talking about. I don't know what.
I don't know, because it wasn't the same, but I just see the potential for those of us that go on it a lot, and if we have these two developments that have how many houses there, plus you have the Arts and Humanities Center, that, and the topography issues there, that's just a potential nightmare of accidents, especially with the increased
I might
traffic
add that
flow.
one in then.
Can you, Nick, can you, navigate down to Drive?
And I can show you what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. It does, it's.
You have
that's
Oakwood
around.
Estates,
But
and you have the developments by right that is now gonna be across the street from it. Plus you have the Arts and Humanities Center, which is Ralph Bunch,
South or north?
South.
which also has several cut-throughs there too.
That was it, right?
That was it.
There were grading issues.
Yeah, there's a really big grading issue, because when they don't mow the grass, it is really hard to see when you're in the
You're back.
middle.
North
To
of
make that
205.
left, you can't see.
There.
Oh, Eden Road.
Mhm.
Okay.
May I point something out, Madam Chair? So bear in mind though, anything on the side of, the same side of the Humanities Center project, they are going to need to address road improvements in their plan
Yeah, there
per
were.
VDOT. So anything on that side is going to be absorbed
Right.
by them. And there are some grant programs that they could apply for, like recreational access and things like that. So that side of the road, that's kind of gonna fall on them. If you're talking about on the other side of the road there, as far as the grading
Mhm.
coming down, I can see that. I just know that when that comes through, they're gonna have to take care of their things that VDOT requires of them as far as access.
But I'm just thinking of all the houses that are coming on Eden Drive. And you're gonna have all that traffic, we have no, and I watch people almost have accidents all the time when they're coming from that little road across, I forget what the name of that road is. Little side road that goes to 205.
Hanover Baptist Church.
Yes.
Oh,
And people just cut across, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's directly right across from that Eden Drive.
So back up to what Ms. Kupka just said, what was that you said about the right-hand side at the Arts and Humanities
So
Center?
right there's Ralph.
The improvements that are gonna have to be made on that side, who would have to make those improvements?
The Arts and Humanities Center, the developer would have to do that.
So,
And typically, that's part of their application process. It was just like, what's a recent example? Like, the Villages thing, right? VDOT had concerns and made part of what they had to do in their application package was address their concerns, and there are things that they had to do, so that's gonna fall into play here with that project too.
So-
That's just standard VDOT operating procedure.
so with this though, there's a lot, all down that 301 corridor, there's a lot of property that we're kind of counting on for economic development and development down the road. Are those improvements gonna kind of be pricey to where maybe certain companies or whatever aren't looking at putting businesses there? If those requirements could, like if they have to put in all these, requirements for different lanes and stuff and it's gonna price them out, are we gonna get, like, let's say Lowe's, for instance, wants to locate out there. Could they tell us, well, I'm not gonna deal with you guys over here because I gotta put all this turn lanes and all this other infrastructure because of what you've done on this corridor, I'm gonna locate it somewhere
well, it's
else.
not gonna be because we'll be down the corridor, it's just gonna have to do with the amount of traffic that's on it. I mean, VDOT would go into any place and do an investigation and make a determination about what would need to be done, like length of turn lanes and the proper way to create the entrances and everything.
I just don't want us to be
It's not
putting
gonna be
something
because
out
what we
there.
did, it's gonna be because
Yeah.
of,
Traffic study.
yes.
Yeah, I mean, and if that's it, yeah, I don't want us to be putting certain things in place to where it's gonna require more
I don't,
and stifle our future.
I don't want to speak for VDOT, but I don't think that it would have really any significant impact.
Because in my other
But
question,
I'm not official.
I know you mentioned Ralph, but since we own that property,
Mhm.
if they take out the option on it and sign on file as papers, they would have to then be required to make the improvements from VDOT, or would we have to do that as the landowner?
The developer. We wouldn't be developing the property.
But they would just be having an option, we still own the property.
Right now. But
They have
we-
an option
but
to
we-
acquire.
All right, I just want to clarify.
Their option is to acquire.
Okay.
So ownership would be transferred and
After
thus
the
it would
requirements
be
are met.
their responsibility. So we all drive different roads because we all obviously live in different districts and everybody has their own passions and I appreciate everybody's discussion. As far as where I'm at, I like the idea about Port Conway.
Yes, and I want to go back to Port Conway real quick, just to make sure I understand. Are we talking about removing that intersection completely? Like, there's no turning from any way whatsoever? Or are we just saying people on Port Conway can't turn left?
No, it's lengthening the existing left turn lanes on US 301.
Improving it.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that right now, they're too short, it's too short to.
Yes.
Okay.
It's giving it a little bit more.
Exactly.
No, we're
So
talking about removing all
I
that.
have, so I like Port Conway.
Yeah.
Indian Town in 206, we've been talking about that for a while.
We're good on that.
Because of, it's a natural way to limit 18-wheelers coming down there because of that turn radius, but I do have a concern. I have a constituent that owns that property at the corner. I would want to make sure that we're advocating fair price for whatever property has to be taken, is given to them. And that house, the little white house, is a very sentimental value to that family. I would want to make sure that there was an option at least that house, it's on blocks, that it could be moved further back onto their property or something. I would like to have a conversation with the property owner about that roundabout. But at the end of the day, we have to do something at that intersection, and I advocate for that.
Okay.
But as for me, that's it. I'd rather do nothing than pay a lot of money for something that really doesn't fix anything.
Understood.
So that's where I'm at with the other projects, and a lot of things was talked about, the base throwing its weight around, and that's how we got some momentum or whatever. Well, I look forward to working with the base. Ultimately, the traffic issues in Downey, in the morning and in the afternoon when it's the thickest,
Good.
B gate is right on 301. So at the end of the day, B gate needs to move inside that parameter and something needs to be figured out. I'm not putting that on the command. I think we need to have a conversation with them, ask for funding because they don't have magic money. They get a budget too from DOD. But something has to be put in writing. We have to have some kind of formal discussion and plan outlined. B gate cannot stay in its current form right there on 301.
Yeah, you know, I'm not here to fix the basis problems,
But
but.
that's the conversation we need to have.
No, but I was
Because we're
gonna-
having a conversation based off of
Right.
traffic issues.
Right.
And that is the significant traffic issue in this entire county.
Right, but one of the ways that we can, you know, at least make some noise about it is to raise those concerns to Congressman Whitman, to be honest with you, because he's the one that has the ear of Milcon. So, I mean, him, Kane, Warner, I mean, I just gotta rattle some doors. But I don't wanna go down that route. I'd
Yeah, I
much
was
rather
just gonna
stay
say-
on VDOT. Yeah, I'd much rather stay on VDOT. So.
Do you have a comment?
Can we go to the B gate again? I'm gonna ask this, I mentioned it last meeting, and I'm gonna ask it again. I know it's probably considered a radical idea, and, but we'll ask it.
Richard, the radical one? Really?
I know, it's gonna stump.
All right, so.
Of all people, I wouldn't say Richard's the radical one.
So you have, could you go north a little bit? I'm sorry, just pull it down.
Let me zoom out.
Yeah, right there, perfect.
Oh,
All right, so you have the sheets there, and people on Owens Drive. Would it be possible to make it so people can't go straight across on Owens Drive?
I love that idea.
And make it so they can turn left? Make it so people can turn left from Maryland, but somehow cut it off, so basically making Owens Drive unattractive for being a through put onto the base.
So it would be those what was it, MUT, was it called? So that it would make them, somehow that into a MUT.
I'm just asking if, I don't know what the answer is. Yes, ma'am.
So, according to VDOT,
Yes.
the answer is reconfigure the intersection to a quadrant roadway.
Okay.
Um,
For Owens and,
Owens
Yeah.
Drive with US 301.
okay.
let's see, significant queuing from the northbound right turn and southbound left turn movements is observed in the AM.
So that's gonna be in the
Military
arterial
gate. Queuing creates safety concerns as it backs up into through lanes. The intersection will be unable to accommodate the growth. The quadrant roadway improvement can provide operational and safety improvements.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think what they would suggest probably
They're proposing the queue.
is to do a quadrant behind the sheets.
Okay.
Is my guess.
Exactly right, yeah.
Is that, the quadrant is the one like you showed us the video, the first video?
Exactly, so they're
206,
proposing that.
301.
Okay,
That
but,
we started off with.
Yeah, going southbound, so.
Okay.
so put that behind the sheets, I guess.
No, so it's gonna go, so that design was for, they would essentially do it right here. So if you're heading this way, the queue would start here.
Okay.
And so you can't, you wouldn't be able to turn this way from outside the gate, but I think the only way you can,
So you'd have to go right and then,
yeah, exactly, you have to go right and then queue around, I think.
And then go
that's the way
straight.
to do
So
it.
that kind of defeats what I'm trying to bring
Yeah,
up.
that's what I was thinking.
I don't coming
That might
down
be-
from this direction.
you're
Yeah,
wanting to
that
cut
might
off
be
there
wrong,
wanting to do that.
Yeah, I'm trying to make it so you can't even go
Yeah.
straight there to
Yeah.
keep people from hopping off Dolgan Road onto Owens Drive. If Owens Drive is not available, then I think the QR quadrant, is that what it's
Yeah, it's QR.
I think that makes sense down at the Dolgan Road 301 intersection.
Right.
As long as you
Because-
make it unattractive.
Yeah, because if you can't do that, then it addresses the issue, and then people have to go this way, or like you said, go down to the 301 intersection and then just go straight. Yeah.
Let me check this one though, because I may be wrong.
Okay.
But I think this one eliminates the left turns, but like you said, I think it stops people from, using Owens Drive to, cut across there.
Okay.
But I gotta check it.
I would, personally, I think that makes sense, but I'll leave it to my colleagues also.
I like that idea, Richard, because that is a big problem right there. And it's only gonna get worse with the bridge. What do you guys think? Well, here, let's start first. 205, 301, what do you guys think? Consensus?
I would be for that, but the only thing I would say is if we could somehow address both the Owens Drive and the Dolgan Road one together, I would say, because we only have a limited number of options, go with those two together. So I think there is a bigger impact right down there in that area of the county.
I would be amenable to
But I
that.
think both those would have to be addressed at the same
It'd
time.
have to be a combo
Then
package.
it doesn't work that way though, they're too far apart. So
I think it'd be great to
the
different-
Market Center and the University Drive were within, there's a certain amount of space that they can do a coordinated intersection. The problem is Owens has how many other different crossovers and turns and everything before you get down to 206. So it's not gonna be a package deal, it's gonna have to be two separate projects, which then we just drop 205 is what we'd have to look at.
I would be amenable to that.
My big concern though would be is if the Dolgan Road went through. Because, I mean, what if they don't all get accepted? I mean, how?
Right, because
I don't want to do, I don't want to do the Dolgan Road one and not this one, and because I feel like that's going to be terrible. I'd rather just submit this one if it's not guaranteed they both go through. Because
it's not guaranteed.
then I would rather just submit just the Owens Drive one, and then down the road, then say, let's look at that one if this gets approved. Personally, that's my opinion.
As it is right now, and we already know the base is gonna be increasing, your average backup on Owens at 8 AM is past Chatham Village. And that's as it stands now. And that's without increased traffic coming in.
But that's the one I would like to see tackled first of those two intersections.
The quadrant, sir?
I'm sorry, no, not the, I want it, at the Owens Drive, I want to know if there's a way to make it so you can't go straight across 301 from Owens Drive to E Gate. That
To
is.
cut out the incentive for
Yep.
people going down
If
that
people
way.
can't cut down Owens Drive as a shortcut, then we're gonna be taking a lot of traffic off that road and keeping it more of our main roads. And I think the Dahlgren Road 301 intersection would just encourage people to use the Owens Drive road more. Yes, ma'am.
Didn't though, Dr. Young, didn't somebody, one of you look into this? And we can't put in for Owens Drive again because they're about to start the next project. that was already funded. Remember that? In round two, we got this a project here was funded,
Yeah.
and they
It's a
came
turn
back
lane
to
from
us, but it
south.
doesn't matter, we can't put in for another project at that location because we have one that's already been funded that is not, the money in the 6-year plan has
Yeah.
already been allocated towards, they gotta do that first, they're not gonna let us put in for another Owens Drive right now.
That's correct. I'm on the.
Then I don't like either.
Is it funded yet?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's been,
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
it's,
approved.
yes, it's been approved, it's been allocated in the CTB's 6-year plan, so yes, it's a done deal.
So we can't put it on, you have to wait for the 6 years to,
Get the way to get done.
You have to wait for that to get done,
yeah.
which
And then we can-
could, hopefully is next year,
I
it
need
sounds
more
like with the email that they had sent Dr. Young.
Mhm.
Only take your time.
So,
Then I'd really like to not get the dog in the real one on. That's my thing though.
so then, so we can't do Owens, so right now we still only have 2. If we do Eden,
Mhm.
that's the 3rd one.
I'm sorry, wait. The Indian town,
We have
Port Conway.
Indiantown and Port Conway.
all right.
If
Then
we add Eden, we do,
what's the, did we come to a consensus on 205 and 301?
I'm a no. Jeff, 205, 301, no or yes?
Neither.
All right, that's 2 no.
I'm a yes
I was
for
a yes.
205 and 301.
So, yeah.
You wanted to decide it.
I'm okay with that one.
And then can we add the Eden Drive?
I'm amenable to adding my yes.
Are you good with, is everyone good with what the description, can you read the description from in here, from the study that they recommend? I think it's another extending a turn lane, I think it's
For
the
Eden?
northbound for 301 and Eden, I feel like is extending.
I would
the
assume it's
northbound.
extending the left hand, the left turn lane, just
Yeah.
like Port Conway.
Okay.
The problem is not gonna help,
Lengthen the existing northbound left turn lane on 301.
that doesn't help the problem. But Eden Drive, it doesn't help the problem. So, and I will.
What kind of solution are you looking for, I guess is the question.
Well, when I mentioned to Ms. Parker, because she didn't even know that this was, they did not know that this was now a problem with these housing, that they did not realize Oakwood Estates was there and the new one that's going to come in across from Oakwood Estates. And I said that this is a potential problem and an accident waiting to happen, not having a red light or some kind, or the, what is it, the MUT, was that, right, the MUT? Something in there to alleviate the potential that's gonna happen. I mean, now Oakwood Estate's just starting, so they don't have all the houses in, and the other one, they haven't even broke ground yet. So that's a potential nightmare eventually with all those traffic, people coming out of Eden Drive and wanting to turn, and just left turn lanes are not gonna solve the problem.
You asked for a red light?
Well, I don't know if they'll put in a red light, but even the MUT, you know,
So, can I make a suggestion then?
Mhm.
Why don't we slow down on that? Because VDOT, how they do this, they do a lot of the engineering for us, because we don't have, you know,
yeah.
we don't have a transportation planner in community development on staff to do the diagrams and stuff, and we're on a clock here, and we're running out of time, where they're gonna be, we're not the only locality that they provide these services to. They provide them to a lot of other communities too, so if we don't have something firm, if you don't like what's in here, this is the study and this is what they're recommending.
gotcha.
And I'm okay, I think we're all okay, that if we don't like what's in here, then we don't put in for that right now, and we slow down and we give them time to develop a project for us that maybe next go round we put in for.
And I understand that, I just think that doing the 205, 301 is not a problem, but the other one isn't, but they didn't do a study, so kind of out of luck there, and I just, that's what my heartburn is, because I think the one has no problem, well, it does, not no problem, but not as much impact as the other one. So, but I know you have 3, so
I like Ms. Couples' idea.
so,
Give them some time to come up with something that actually addresses it.
Mr. Stoner would like to say.
Mark, sitting over there too quiet.
The only thing I was gonna add on the 206 thing, we talked about the side effects. I'm a left turning commuter from Playdale every day. I'm not gonna take Owens Drive, I'm gonna take a right onto Windsor and then the left onto 301. And then looking at that quadrant, I'm not gonna go straight through and do a whole U-turn. I'm gonna cut through the food line parking lot. Those are your two side effects that are gonna happen with that, without any other improvements. I mean, I'd offer up, I think, a 218 improvement would also be an alternative as part of the bigger plan to get ready for the 206 improvement.
So then I'll continue on that one. I think I probably spent a lot more time on the roads and intersections in Delaware and Oregon County than really anybody here. Two worst ones, Owens by far, and 301, those are the worst. You know, but I was looking at, you know, this, you know, the 301 Dargan Road thing, you know, yeah. If you start putting a whole lot more traffic turning left there, going up that road, then it's gonna mess up turning left onto Windsor, because that already backs down the hill anyway. So if we're allowing a lot more traffic flowing through there, that's gonna directly impact that traffic light at the top of the hill, because that already backs up down the hill anyways. Food line, right, they're gonna come out of here and people go, oh, well, I can't turn left, I'm gonna just go through food line. And then the impact on the businesses there, you know, like Wawa and, you know, getting into food line and stuff. I think, you know, everyone's just gonna cut through these parking lots. But really, I mean, our two worst intersections are 301 and Delaware and Owens. I mean, those are the absolute worst ones. You know, 205, yeah, you know, I don't really think that's all that bad up there. So, and my other question is, you know, like what we were saying, how much do we really have to say? I mean, if King George says, nah, we don't want to do any of these, you're not going to do it anyway.
The locality cares a lot of weight with the discussion on what they're gonna do with the corridor. So probably now we said no, they wouldn't do them, but we could say 2 years, 4 years, 6 years from now, where VDOT says, hey, the numbers are finally reached and we can't justify accommodating some of the communities.
But when we said no, we don't want to raise the speed limit to 60.
Just ignore it.
Yeah, they ignored it.
Ignored us and said, yeah, we're gonna do it anyway, so.
I just like, for this specific round, I just don't think that the numbers are there yet. They're dependent on forecasts, and once they start hitting those forecasts, then they're just gonna do what they wanna do.
Yeah, I mean, I know, I mean, these absolutely have to be addressed. I mean, it's terrible down there in the mornings and in the afternoons. I mean, especially those two big ones. It's only gonna get worse. I mean, so we gotta do something, but, I would say, you know, that 301 intersection, I hate to put the pressure on Owens, but you gotta do something there. And, the 206, or the 205 and 301, you know, we could or we couldn't. I don't really see that being a huge issue right now. It will be, but I don't think that's a huge issue right now.
So I would say, then, how you wanna look at this is, the state has a finite pot of money that they are going to award for this round of Smart Scale, and Smart Scale is only every 2 years. So if we don't put in for projects, we don't have any chance to get any of it, and other localities have a better chance to get their things funded. So it would behoove us to put in for 4 projects. It's almost like leaving money on the table. Why would we ever do that if there's a possibility? And last time, we got 3 out of our 4 projects. They are paying attention to King George County. They know what impact the bridge is gonna have on us. And right now, they're willing to throw money our way. So I feel like it's leaving money on the table by not at least putting in 4 applications and giving it our best shot.
So I would be willing to do 306, 301 in that instance, because it would at least do something.
And we're not paying into this, are we?
No.
No, we don't put any
Yeah, that's what I
match, we
said.
didn't put any match in 2 years ago, and we got about, I wanna say, $10, $11 million altogether, once that third one got approved by GWRC with the money that they got. I mean, that's $10 million we don't have. It's however $1 million
Conway,
Indian
Indian Town,
Indian Town.
301 and 205.
And Dover, 301.
Windsor 218 and 301, because Mr. Stonehill, you mentioned that. They are suggesting an R cut.
What's an R cut?
See if I have-
I can bring it up on that.
Can you bring it up,
Yeah.
Mr. Meyer?
One on that, just like Ms. Cuthbert requested, absolutely correct. We spoke with Alvin Balderson from VDOT. He said that there's a smart scale project on Route 301 at the reference intersection scheduled to start around late summer of 2020. Enhancements will increase the Route 301 southbound left turn lane to the base by 500 feet. And also heading south, they're adding a 200-foot right lane going with a 200-foot paper. The Route 301 northbound side will increase the left turn lane storage into Owens by 150 feet. So since they're investing into that currently funded project, they're not going to entertain any additional applications to address the intersection at the moment, well, not for this cycle.
Here's the R.
Yeah, it's a restricted crossing.
The Virginia Department of Transportation, VDOT, in its commitment to improving safety and mobility for all road users in Virginia, presents innovative intersections and interchanges. The restricted crossing U-turn, or R-cut, is one type of innovative intersection. An R-cut is made up of one main intersection and two median crossover intersections. All vehicles from a side street start by making a right turn. To turn left or to go through the intersection, side street vehicles make a U-turn at an adjacent median opening. R-cuts are designed to accommodate all roadway users, including larger vehicles such as school buses, emergency vehicles, and trucks, as well as pedestrians and cyclists. Let's take a closer look at how an R-cut works for motorists. On the major street, motorists turn left, continue
So
straight,
that's
and turn
301.
right, just like at a conventional
The
intersection.
major street is 301.
From the side street, all motorists start by turning right. Those who wish to continue straight or make a left turn from the side street will go to the adjacent median opening
And that would be
make a
stopped,
U-turn.
that's, so they could go across.
These motorists will then either continue straight on the main street or turn right onto the side street. Pedestrians and cyclists can also navigate an R-cut. Pedestrians use marked crosswalks to safely
So
cross
this
an
is the
intersection.
recommendation in the right.
Cyclists can also
Yes.
navigate intersections using crosswalks
Well,
and
there's
pedestrian
another
paths.
problem
Or
too.
if they're more comfortable, cyclists can follow the same paths as vehicles.
You know what I'm saying?
There are several benefits of an R-cut design, such as improved safety.
Yeah.
R-cuts
That would work.
reduce the number of points where vehicles cross paths and eliminate the potential for head-on crashes from the side streets. Increased efficiency. At an R-cut, each direction of the major street operates independently, which essentially creates two one-way streets. This means that there are fewer interruptions and more vehicles can move through the same space more efficiently.
I have a question.
Shorter wait times. R-cuts can decrease the amount of time motorists wait at an intersection. R-cuts typically operate with fewer traffic signal phases than conventional intersections.
I like it,
resulting
but
in
that
less
is-
stopping for feline vehicles. To improve the safety and efficiency of Virginia roads, VDOT works with local jurisdictions to find the right intersection type for a location, and then tailors the design to its
Then
specific
I have a very
R-cut
directed
design.
question here, for this is Windsor, can we have the map? To construct that, it makes sense, but to construct it, where would they have to acquire from? If they had to acquire it all? Do you understand my question?
I do.
The R-cut. They'd have to cut into.
Would it have to be the property next to Oakland Baptist Church?
I would assume that they would need to do it here,
No, it would be on the other side.
on the other side.
No, I'm sorry. Maybe I'm wrong, but it would force the people to turn down this way to go straight or turn left, and then you'd have the arc cut here, which would have to cut into here some
Right, so
in order to
that,
do the U-turn.
Jeff, do you understand my question?
And same with the other way.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna work for that intersection.
Well, the other thing, just not, I mean, the downhill on 301, it's, the truck traffic and increased brake resistance as well.
Thank you for showing that.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't think we can do that one.
I would just extend the turn lanes is really the only thing they can do there for now.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say then they're going with their recommendation for that project.
So we have four. So far we have Indian Town, correct?
Port Conway.
We have Port Conway, and then we have two more. We have the 205, 301,
Mhm.
and then are we gonna go for, I say might as well go for 206, 301.
So everyone else is, I've given my 2 cents, but if there's consensus of the majority,
Well,
then that's the vote.
I'm just throwing,
So I'm officially a no on that one. That's my.
which one, on 206?
206.
I'm just asking to put in all four.
You have the experience on this,
Well,
I'm
I'm
waiting for
asking.
you to talk.
Just laughing.
Because we could have been gone an hour ago. I'm sorry. I'm a yes for 301 and 206.
Okay.
Okay,
So on the,
so we have two no's. Did you?
Quadrant.
okay.
You're a yes?
So I am a yes for those four.
Okay.
All right, so we have Indian Town.
Which was
301,
unanimous.
205, right?
Fort Conway's unanimous.
Everything that was requested and then adding on.
And the other two were 3-2 votes.
Yep.
Understood. I'll write that.
So everything you presented,
thought
plus
I
then
was
you
the only
put
one
Port
that
Conway,
voted
so.
Okay.
Ms. Cuthbert said yes.
For
You could have done it an
205,
hour ago.
What about
Yeah.
406?
Yeah,
Apologies to
yeah.
staff
But
for
Richard is
dragging that
no.
out.
Oh,
I mean, you gotta
Yeah.
you gotta do what you gotta do.
I'm sorry.
You're a no.
That's on me for being.
Yes.
We're good now. Is that all you need? All right.
And median, median, what we're gonna pursue with the GID.
Right, based on what was.
Okay, I was going to clarify, thank you. Okay.
All right, we're good. Is that all? Do I have a motion? Any more discussion? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn until Tuesday, February 18th at 6:30 before this.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nay? Chair votes aye.